make sure that everything is working properly. Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? How's the music sound? How's my voice sound? All the audio levels sounding good, I hope? It's gonna be a very interesting stream today. Got some ideas I definitely wouldn't have expected. Will spoil right off the bat that this is another stream full of new submissions. However, they are all pretty decently short. So if there is ever a time that I might be able to get to extra submissions, I think this might be it, but let's... I keep your expectations in check. I have a tendency to ramble over these sort of things. There's going to be a bit of an echo for a second. I'm just going to check for my channel. See how this sounds. So if there is ever a time that I might be able to get to extra submissions... Okay, yeah, alright. That's fine. No worries whatsoever, Carson. I'm just happy you checked in at all. I also want to apologize in advance. I don't think I have a cold anymore, but I am still a little congested, so there might be some coughs every now and then. Can't really control that. Maybe turn down the music a little bit? No problem. Let's get like 3 more decibels. Yeah. Background music is supposed to be just that, in the background. Don't want it drowning out my narration of these cool ideas. We got about 5 minutes before we start. Guess I could give a bit of a channel update here. I am almost done with the next video. I don't know. It just keeps getting longer the more I work on it. I'm trying very hard to just, like, ignore what would be, like, the correct way to make a YouTube video and just follow the, like, the creative juices wherever they flow. Problem is, I like to ramble, so that just means that I extrapolate on things way, way, way too much. Radfarious, I will not stand for any of this self-depreciation here. Don't you worry. Even if it was absolutely true, or if it was not, everyone starts somewhere. There's no need to be down on yourself. The very fact that you're trying to be creative is the important thing. Low-key one of my pet peeves whenever I see these submissions. And, like, this isn't us talking about you, Radfarious. Half of the, like, literally half of them have some sort of, like, oh, I'm sorry if this idea isn't any good, or, oh, like, yeah, I'm sure others are much better. Like, come on, guys! Spoiler warning. Everybody's concepts have problems at first. Like, that's just something that everybody has to deal with. The fact that you're submitting something at all should be the focus, because that just means that the next one's going to be even better, the next one's going to be even better, next one's even better. Stereotypical, it's not about the final destination, it's about the journey getting there. Like, have you seen some of my oldest videos? Good grief. And that's not even to say that yours is bad, Radfarious. I haven't read it yet, but it doesn't matter if it is, if that makes any sense. I got 3 minutes. Nah, Ashton, it's more when people just don't have an ego at all. Like, sure, keeping your egos in check is one thing. Not believing in yourself, that is a whole other thing entirely. Alright, the first one's humility. Second bit is just unhealthy. Tic-tac, she was top tier. I forgot about that. I miss being able to do April Fool's videos. The problem with doing those sorts of just, like, making a video to coincide like a specific day of the year is that once you do it once, you have to keep doing it over and over again. And you may feel passionate about it one year, but if you get to the next one and that those creative juices aren't aren't there anymore, it gets very... It's a quick way to get burnout. That's the one you're focusing on, Camp? I'd put it on Ridley can't shield or be grabbed, whatever it was. It's like, oh, play rock, paper, scissors, except you don't have access to scissors. That's fine. Just post a video with nothing in it. See, that's funny at the moment. But when people wait for videos, as long as I make my audience wait for mine... I think I have everything set up on my end. So let's get into things proper. Oh, now I have to answer this question first. I dislike my Fire Emblem video, Dingerfish, because it was very much... I only finished my first draft, and then I immediately made it into a video. Normally when I make my videos, I take a lot of time to go over the scripts over and over again, polish it up to a point that I feel like it flows really well. I dislike that one because I didn't do that. I just tried to rush it out as quickly as possible. And I uploaded it and I immediately thought of so many ways I could make it better. I'm just not fond of that. Still like a lot of the ideas in it, I just think I could do it so much better. I fell into the YouTube grind of trying to make videos as quickly as possible without taking the time to actually bring them up to a standard of quality that I was happy with. Alright, but let's start properly. For anybody new to this series, this is going to be a very, very chill experience where everybody here in the chat has submitted various ideas that they want me to go over, and we just basically gush over them, giving whatever feedback we can, where we can, just kind of bask in a bit of creativity from my audience. And first off, I can't believe I'm starting with this. I hate the character so much, but the title was too good, and it's their first submission. So let's begin. That's a very loud theme. From GabethePaper. Corrin decorned. Their Corrin overhaul. First off, just a quick disclaimer. Gabe didn't think too hard about whether or not their ideas would fit Fire Emblem Fates or are accurate to the Fire Emblem series. While I mentioned the game a little to explain my thought process, this is designed to re-envision Corrin in Smash with no limitations, rather than make him accurate to the series or rewrite Fates. Sorry in advance, they got something wrong. I don't know much about it. Honestly, if you got something wrong with Corrin, it'd probably be better, so don't you even worry about it. So, today, Gabe wanted to share something that they made. It started out as a joke, but then in what it became this. That's what's happened with several of my videos. I totally relate to that. The goal is to make Corrin interesting, cool even. Sounds impossible, I know, but I love me a good challenge. But first, some context. Corrin is one of the most hated characters in Smash. He's bland, he looks weird, and he's pretty much the reason people hate the Fire Emblem representation in Smash and anime sword fighters in general. I also don't think it helps that he was put in Smash just to advertise Fates. But did he have to be so lame? I don't think so. I've heard that Roy in his game was boring too, but in Smash, he's our boy. That's because Sakurai took what little he knew about him and turned him into a new character. I think the same can be done for Corrin. Just gotta be creative. And that's what I'll be doing here. Not trying and fix a dumpster fire or make him represent a key part of Fire Emblem. Just take the concept of a dragon man with a chainsaw and have some fun with it. However, I'm going to be going further than what Sakurai did with Roy. I'm going to change Corrin's appearance and voice as well. Thank God. Sakurai probably wasn't allowed to do that, but this isn't official Smash Bros. Right now. There are no rules here. I know what you're thinking. Why bother? Just replace him. Well, I want to, but the voices won't let me. So plan B, Corrin so much he's actually cool. I will destroy the natural order. Alright, I'll get straight to his personality so my concept makes him slightly more sense. If I were going to rewrite Fates, I'd make Corrin cocky and a little hot-headed. He'd be a total show-off and kind of a goofball, but still a good person overall. However, after his mother dies, he'd become traumatized, becoming angry and a little unhinged. But he'd pretend he's the same to avoid worrying the people he loves. In Smash, I'd show this with him acting overconfident and doing reckless moves with his sword. In addition, his voice would be a little more violent and a little sadistic. Speaking of his voice, I would give male Corrin the voice of Raiden in Metal Gear. Oh right, sorry. I forgot the... Let's get that TL real quick. Copy link. There you go. You know, I can't disagree with that. That would probably be... One day I bumped into my mod, showcasing mod by Superfish Dude, which I just did, replacing Corrin's voice with Raiden's. At first I thought it was hilarious, but over time I started to unironically love it. Something about it just clicks for me. I'm not gonna click this now, but holy... That's so funny. I love that. As for female Corrin, I couldn't really find a voice replay. I mean, to be fair, female Corrin's voice is significantly less awful. Yeah, her voice is fine. Her voice direction just wouldn't match as well with Crazy Corrin. So instead I went with a different angle. I take her voice clips from Fire Emblem Heroes that are more violent and cocky sounding. Mix it with Scarlet's clips as well. Okay. Okay, I see where you're going with this. I like this. Your idea, make the horns a baseline feature as well as a tail. Okay, yeah. I'm feeling this a little bit. I took Ninja Corrin from Heroes as a base and added dragon elements to him. Horns, a dragon eye, fangs, and a tail. I was inspired by what Corrin said about Corrin's dragon powers in Chapter 5. If you become embroiled in a fight right now, it would be easy to lose control. Your dragon blood could take over again. If you yield completely to the dragon, you may lose your... Isn't it crazy how they just introduced this super, like, engrossing plot point and it literally never came up again? The joys of Fates' writing. It's a tiefling, yeah! Tieflings are cool. Azura was likely referring to degeneration. but I chose to take that literally. In my fake lore, Corrin starts off normal looking, but after Corrin first transforms without a Dragonstone, it permanently scars her physically and mentally. The Dragonstone Azura gave her prevents it from getting worse, allowing her to transform without further permanent mutation, but it does not cure her. It's probably not how degeneration works, but I don't care. Besides, some Manicates have wings even in human form, and Fallen Corrin in Heroes has a tail, so it can't be that far off. Now that Corrin is less, I win! Let's move on to his moveset, starting with the archetype. Corrin would be a lightweight rushdown with very low traction. I want Corrin to be powerful, but have trouble controlling such power, so I figured a glass cannon would be a good path to go. And he's a water dragon, so it makes sense that they'd slide around the stage. As for his attacks, I would change a lot about them. A couple of Corrin's attacks are cool looking, such as his side special and back air. Most are either generic or weird. I think Sakurai was trying to make him feel graceful, but it didn't really work, and Marth pulled it off better anyway. Therefore, I would go the opposite direction, make his attacks as brutal and show-offy as possible, as if he's from an anime fighting game. I'm a bit of a metalhead, so I can help myself. In addition, I would give him a gimmick I call his Insanity Meter, which would be shown above his percentage like most meters. However, this is a meter you do not want to... Ooh! Like, disassociating from Corrin for a minute, I've never considered that as an idea. And that sounds fun! Give you a meter that your enemies are trying to fill? That's cool! Alright. In my fake lore, being in high-stress situations and using his dragon powers mess with Corrin's mind, filling up his insanity meter. Dragonstones won't save him in my story, he's too traumatized. If his meter gets full, he loses it, blindly attacking everyone near him, including his allies. So, how would this work in Smash? Well, his meter fills up whenever he gets attacked, he uses his specials, or he stays still. The reason why doesn't matter, so if he's grabbed, dizzy, buried asleep, etc., he's gaining that insanity meter. However, his insanity meter goes down whenever he lands normal, parries, or throws, satisfying the dragon in him. He will still gain meter if he hits with his specials, but not as much if he misses. The exception is if you hit foes with down special, your meter goes down completely, but only if you hit with it. If you miss, you gain a lot of meter, so you need to use it wisely. Why? What's so bad about his meter filling up? If his insanity meter completely fills up, he will go into a state called Dragon Rage. In Dragon Rage, Corrin goes full feral, and his dragon powers become unstable. His helmet would stay on permanently, he would get coated in electricity, his veins would flash red, and dragon parts would spurt out of him randomly. Some attacks would have him transform into a full dragon. Don't want him to be a full dragon all the time, because I didn't want him to have two movesets. When under Dragon Rage, he would become faster and his smash attacks and down special would become stronger. However, when he is in that state, he suffers recoil damage of 2% per second. Okay, so it's basically a self-inflicted poison if you let that meter... Okay. So it kind of encourages that same kind of playstyle when you're fighting a Joker, when as soon as he gets Arsene, you just run away. But now you're actively encouraged to make Arsene summon, which is a lot more engaging. The meter goes down like Joker's Arsene and goes down faster by landing attacks, parries, or throws. You can also end this early by hitting with down special. You don't gain meter while under Dragon Rage, so the only risk is counterattacks. The maximum amount of time you can be in Dragon Rage is in one shot is 15 seconds, meaning you could suffer a whopping 30% due to Dragon Rage, so you better land those hits. This comeback mechanic intentionally sucks. The idea is that Corrin has many strengths and options, feeling busted when winning as him. However, when he's not winning, he's losing the battle both externally and internally. We've got some stats here. I think now and just moving forward, I'm kind of just going to linger on the stats for a second so people can just read over them really quick. Because, like, I can say that, like, oh yeah, he runs as fast as Ridley, but unless you have, like, the chart of all the run speeds in front of you, you don't really know what that is. So I gave you guys just plenty of time to read over this. Put out a little bit so you can see the rest of it. I will point out 3 jumps. I like 3 jumps on anybody that has wings. Now, actually, now that that's pointed out, why on earth doesn't Corrin have 3 jumps? He has wings. Alright. Alright, with the stats explained, let's get to the main meat and potatoes of this dragon. Jab. I like the current jab. It feels sandwich? It feels sandwich and animal-like. Savage and animal-like. And I wish the rest of her moveset was like that. Although just for fun, I'd make the finisher shoot out a darkness beam out of her hand like in Fire Emblem Warriors. I just think it looks cool. Dash attack, same move, but he grow wings while doing it, so it looks like he's flying. I also make his dash attack go over ledges because why not? When he's under Dragon Rage, he would turn into his full dragon while spinning. This version would be a single hit with high knockback. I like the visual image of having wings while doing that, because like, Corrin's current dash attack is one of the, I'd argue, is one of the dumbest looking attacks in the game right now. He's pirouetting but in midair, but he's not dropping it. It just looks weird. But given wings, that looks significantly more better. Side tilts. Oh my gosh, these pictures! I love them. Corrin swings his sword kind of like Link's, but he holds the sword with both hands. However, this is multi-hit through the move, dealing 3 hits. I like the idea of giving the chainsaw sword more multi-hitting stuff. That works. Generally, his sword moves would be very fast multi-hits, and his dragon attacks would be slower, stronger single hits. Alright. Up till there's a high kick while holding his foot with his sword. Ooh, getting Grievous. General Grievous kind of deal. The Tarkovsky cartoon, not the movie version. I like. Down tilt, Corrin would do a full circle tailspin that moves him forward a little bit. This would be a bit slower compared to the rest of his tilts, but it would still have decent speed, and it'd be a good pop-up move to pop. So kind of like Mewtwo's down tilt. Alright. Side smash. I think his current side smash is good, but it could be cooler. Therefore, I'd make the tip crumble foes and have a Ridley skewer-like zoom in. I think that would help it feel more violent. It wouldn't be nearly as strong as Ridley skewer, but it would be faster. Alright, I like that. Up smash instead of throwing his stuff. English. Instead of thrusting out his, I'm not sure, his horns? Instead of that, I'd make him grow out his wings and bash them up like Ridley in Project M EX Remix. I like that more on Corrin than I do Ridley. That move in Project M on Ridley has always looked weird to me because it just doesn't. I don't like Ridley's wings bending that way. Doesn't really make anatomically sense, but for Corrin, like they're just growing out of his body anyway. You can work with them a little bit more. Down smash, instead of doing Meat Brawler's down smash, you could sprout out wings and slam them down again, like Ridley. I think it would be cool if he had parallels to Ridley like that, as Corrin is internally fighting a sadistic dragon, while Ridley himself is a sadistic dragon. I also like the idea of comparing Corrin to Ridley is, like, blasphemous in of itself, but in the context of this moveset, I do like the idea here. Neutral Air is a Metal Knight spin with his wings. Turn into a dragon fully, or a Dragon Rage. Forward Air is an axe kick while holding the sword with his foot. I love these. I'm gonna zoom in on these a little bit more, just so people can appreciate these better. Where'd my... I can't see my... Why can I not scroll? Oh well, you guys can see it now. Like, look at these! That's great. Back air, like Corrin's back air, makes sense, it does a good job fitting the concept. Although to add more flair, add a splash of water on the wings as well. I like that as well. Just throwing out more water in general throughout the whole moveset would help sell, like, what Corrin is instead of being a weird mishmash of ideas that he is currently. And up air is a thrust kind of like Link's, except Corrin's would deal 4 hits. Alright. Down air, instead of doing, I'm not sure what he's doing, I don't want to know, he would do a stomp with his sword between his feet, dealing 4 hits. He wouldn't crash fall like this, instead of function kind of like Bowser Jr.'s down air. Then as a finisher, he'd flip and punch down with his dragon hand, spiking foes. If he hits the ground with the sword before the hand comes out, he would slide forward a bit, acting kind of like a drop dash. Okay, I'm kind of... Sorry, I'm just trying to mentally picture this one. It's like Bowser's down air, but then he, like, has a finishing move for it. Alright, so the multi-hit traps him in place for the spike. I mean, I like it better than the current one. For sure. With that, his basic attacks are done and only 3 of them use his feet, but then it's not Corrin anymore! Let's move on to throws. His grab would be the same and revert his pummel to his Smash 4 version where he bonks foes with the hilt of his sword. I guess I can make it a chomp or something, but I think the sword bonk is funnier. I agree. Forward throw, he thrusts his sword right into his foes and pulls the auto in full power, multi-hitting them until an electric surge blasts them away. Nice. Corrin's back throw is okay, I agree. Gosh, it's already getting hard to talk. Sorry, tail end of a cold. Just getting some water real quick. Up throw turns into a full dragon like he currently does, except instead of a head, he suplexes them similar to Charizard's up throw. Nice. And down throw, Corrin turns into a full dragon and Azura chokes them. And she blasts a darkness beam to her opponent's face. Got the old school I'm firing my laser. I love that. That's so good. Alright, and then these specials. I like most of his specials. The water balloon to chomp is awesome, the pin and kick are fun to use, up special is kinda cool, and down special, we'll get to that. However, I think we can make them even cooler, and wrap them around his new kit. Neutral special is cool, I especially enjoy the jump. Although I would like it to connect better with a heavy combo game. I'd make the water ball send foes toward Corrin after the stun. I'm not sure how busted that would be, but eh. Using it causes him to gain a meter that risks heavy recoil damage. That's... I actually kinda like that. Cause like that makes the chomp like an integral part of the projectile. It's just not a for funsies, oh, I'm gonna hit you with this if you're right next to me. That becomes... I get to get over me, oh, get over here into massive damage. That's actually really fun. Side special is a fun move to move around with, and hitting people with the pin in the air is a little niche but satisfying thing to do. However, I want to make it even more satisfying to hit with. Therefore, whenever Corrin hits with the tip of the pin in the air... Okay, so another special zoom with, like, the Ridley skewer. I'd want aerial pin to be the equivalent to the Corrin equivalent of the Falcon's knee, and make players feel like a champ for hitting with the sweet spot. His up special is alright, he's a dragon, he must spread his wings and fly. Probably would make him overtuned if I buffed it, so I want him to have a glide. Oh god. Oh no. Yeah, Brawl Meta Knight screwed it up, but Steve proved it can be done in a balanced way. So after Corrin does his multi-hit rise up, height would be reduced slightly. He'd be able to glide around for a few seconds and then go into freefall. The catch is he would gain insanity meter as he glides. He could cancel the glide early with an aerial or air dodge to avoid getting an additional meter, but he would go into freefall immediately afterwards. Interesting. Down special, oh boy, a counter, the best thing ever. Let us have 6 Fire Emblem characters use one. Yeah, there's a reason this is the only special I wasn't praising earlier. It's a shame too because the animation itself is pretty good, but it just had to be a counter. So let's change that. I'd make down special always attack and do the slam, renaming it to Dragon Surge. It would no longer be a counter, but instead a powerful attack with very high end lag, functioning kinda similar to Byleth's down special. In addition, as mentioned before, if Corrin successfully hits with this move, her insanity meter would be completely drained and end Dragon Rage early. Furthermore, when under Dragon Rage, we could create a giant blast in front of her. Think of Terry's Power Geyser. Goodness, I'm really messing with words today. Sorry about that. Hope it's kind of entertaining if nothing else. Overall, this is a very risky tool, but if you hit with it, you could save yourself from a ton of damage. We're almost at the end of the line, but we're not done yet. It's time for other stuff. Entrance is a portal from Lilith from the astral plane. Corrin flies out in dragon form, and then backflips while transforming. And winks at the camera. God, ugh. His default stance would be the same, but when under Dragon Rage, he'd be hunched over with his hands almost touching the ground. Got an idol where he winces in pain. I like the idea a lot of Corrin just kind of being... lean into like the lycanthropy side of the how the Mankeet works, and like what the Fate story actually should have done with him. I also like the comparisons to Ridley Dragon. He is a much better dragon. He's kind of constantly fighting the curse, and God, that's so much better. Why couldn't Fates be well written? This is so much better. I'm caring about this character. It's also clever to just take some of the inspirations from Charizard and Ridley here, because that allows you to just make this extra effort in the character work, because you just have to repurpose it. I like the roll. Dashing so fast it looks like he fades in and out of reality. Kind of fits the more show-offy, yeah, I'm from an anime fighting game. I like it. Corrin would not have a normal directional air dash. Interesting, I'll read this. Instead, he'd have an air dash, making him even closer to an anime fighter. His air dash would allow him to do a quick burst in any direction, shown by him sprouting his wings out, and be able to act out of it almost immediately. However, this would lack invincibility, making it a great movement tool and combo extender, but also leaves him vulnerable. His neutral air dodge would remain... Oh, okay, so you can still air dodge in the air, you just can't do it directionally. Interesting, okay. I'm down for this. And then for the dizzy animation, instead of a normal dizzy animation, electricity surges around him, he shakes his head wildly with his hands on his horns. Corrin's this close to losing control when he gets out of the shield break, he manages to snap out of it. And Centimeter feels while dizzy due to standing still, and if he enters Dragon Rage, his dizziness ends early because he'll... Yo! That's actually really cool. Because if you're right at the cusp of losing control, you could actually purposefully get shield broken. Like, it gives you, it basically gives you extra shield break. Well, no, hold on, let me rephrase that. It takes away the punishment of a shield break by immediately causing you to go on a rampage. It's a weird situation where this could actually be a good thing. Kind of mess with people's heads, like, oh yeah, they broke your shield, they get ready for a punish, but all of a sudden, oh crap, he snapped out of it. That'd be really cool. Give him a cool aura for his taunts, I like it. Kind of just falling more into the... Corrin should be more of a showy character. I like it, I like it. Taunt goes into a full dragon and goes on his back, playing with a water ball like a cat. It's so stupid, but I love it. And a victory thing, I don't think his vanilla victory thing would really fit with my made-up design, so I look for a new one. I know how to make music. I would remake Corrin's victory theme in the style of No More Heroes 3's Results theme, which I do think does a good job of being metal while emphasizing that the battle is won. Couldn't find one specifically from Fire Emblem. I'm sure there's a few in Fates' tracks. If anybody wants to check out these themes, go ahead and access the documents. During animations, wipes his blade clean, saying, "We're done here." Oh, no more I win? Oh, but that's everybody's favorite quote. I do like more cocky Corrin. This never had a chance, we're done here. It's like crazy what you can do when you give your characters some amount of charisma. Ooh, this one's good. Still turns into a dragon. He would look like he's about to lose control, and the camera zooms to his eye, which jolts open to emphasize that he's snapped. Then it transforms into zooms out to him transforming into a dragon like in vanilla. I like it. And with that, Gabe's Corrin concept is complete, creating the world's biggest false advertisement for Fire Emblem Fates. Hopefully I made Corrin sound cool, and all I had to do was change nearly everything about her. Oh, I love this slander so much. I'm sorry, Corrin fans, but it's kind of your fault for not choosing the better character. And that's not so bad. Would any of this actually happen in Smash? Pfft, no. Although if you can mod your Switch, I'd recommend the voice mods. The idea of just raiding over Corrin, that's so funny. Thanks for reading the concept, hope you liked it. If you have any ideas to improve it, I'd love to hear them. Have a good day. You know what, Gabe? I'll give it to you. I do genuinely like this version of Corrin. Well, like, the reason I like it is that it's just not Corrin. Which is hilarious, but... like, the idea here is extremely... I can't get over the brilliance of, like, having a meter that you don't want to fill up. That's so fun. That's so different. No character has really anything like that. Although that does kind of highlight that, yeah, we could do this for Corrin. Or we could do it for just any other character. Yeah, but I think at the very least, I wouldn't use Corrin as a punching bag in my videos anymore if this exists. Like, it'd feel weird, for sure. And it almost kind of highlights how much worse Fates is. But as a Smash character, nah, that's pretty good. I think in terms of feedback, I really liked how you put, like, the water aesthetics on the back air, but it feels kind of weird that you only focused on that there. I feel like you could definitely get away with, like, throwing that sort of aesthetic on really anything that has Corrin transforming. You could do it on the wing spin, you could do it on the down smash, you could do it on the up smash. Kinda... just go with, okay, you got the Yato's visual effects for the chainsaw effects and the water effects on the transformations. Just to kind of make the thematics a bit better. Down tilt's another one, yeah. Anything else? I noticed there's not a final smash here at all. I know you're in the comments, Gabe. Would Corrin have the same final smash, or would that be... maybe it causes them to lose control completely and do a super powerful attack at the cost of damage or something? I don't know. But I'm curious as to what, like, an enraged final smash could be, because that actually sounds pretty cool. Maybe not? Alright, alright. Alright, good job, Gabe. You have successfully gotten me to care about Corrin. And all you had to do was make it so it wasn't Corrin anymore. Ah, I love that so much. Okay. Alright, hold on a second, I gotta cough a bit. Curse you colds! Alright, we got a PowerPoint presentation for this next one. Let me quickly get this set up. from... Get music as well. From Magolord. What if the Watcher was in Smash? Imagine this. Multiple gaming all-stars such as Mario, Link, Pikachu, and Kirby are shown duking it out on Final Destination, giving it their all and having a good time. Suddenly, the camera pans upwards to show a mysterious figure watching them from the starry sky. Heroes from a myriad of universes joining together for a united purpose. Perhaps this is the true meaning behind the doors of fate. Suddenly, a large pillar of light appears, taking all of the fighters by surprise and stopping them in their tracks. When it dissipates, an ethereal, fancy-looking door appears, descending onto the battlefield gracefully. The door opens and an average-looking boy, wearing a red shirt with a star on it, steps onto the stage. He gazes at his surroundings in awe and wonder before noticing the fighters in front of him. Suddenly, his eyes widen in surprise and he exclaims, "I'm in Super Smash Bros.?" Now, if anybody doesn't recognize this character, I don't blame you. I didn't either. But, remember that Yokai Watch exists? Yeah, it's that. You guessed it, Nate, or Kaita, if you prefer his Japanese name like I do, will be joining the battle from the world of Yokai Watch. Yokai Watch is one of my favorite franchises, although Kirby will remain on top if you haven't already guessed by my username, and severely underrated in my opinion. So, through Peasant's perspective, I wanted to be able to show people just how unique and varied this series is, and encourage them to check it out. My initial thought was to create a concept for a new game, but I realized it might be a bit too much to introduce a ton of concepts to newcomers, and also explain how I'd improve them. That's what it hit me. Why not create a concept for Super Smash Bros. Fighter? Not only is the language of Super Smash universal and easy for people to grasp, but it also makes it easier for me to communicate a succinct and proper representation that can ensure it gets across well. And here we are. It's actually Keita. Oh, okay, thank you. I'm terrible with pronunciation. Apologies. To those who aren't aware, Yokai Watch is a monster collecting action RPG series where you befriend various yokai who help you fight in battle. Yokai are inspired from actual Japanese mythological spirits that interact with the human world from an astral plane. In the franchise, yokai are depicted more like mischievous spirits that possess humans and cause mischief and mayhem, though that isn't entirely inaccurate to their origin. The series begins when the main protagonist, Keita, I just read that, discovers an old Gashapon, a Japanese capsule machine, in the middle of the forest while going bug hunting. Upon inserting a coin into the machine and opening the capsule it gives him, he accidentally releases a Whisper, a yokai who soon becomes his snarky yet charming yokai butler. Whisper entrusts Nate with a yokai watch, which he then uses to help discover the yokai around him in his daily life. By befriending these yokai, he is able to obtain their yokai medal, which he can then use to summon them to his aid in battle. Of course, over the course of the series, Nate, along with the help of his yokai friends, solve many problems caused by evil yokai, from small domestic troubles to world-ending catastrophes. Rather than having one of the various yokai friends, such as the mascot Jibanyan, be the representative of the series, I wanted to actually have Nate himself be the fighter, putting a unique spin on things. You're probably wondering, if he has a name, why didn't you just call him that in the first place? Why the Watcher? Well, first off, I wanted to troll the people into thinking he was a similar named character from the popular Marvel series. You actually had Michael Haviland asking exactly that in the chat. Learned a thing or two from our favorite deceptive magician. The second reason is because it plays into this character's gimmick. Much like Hero, who has his separate playable characters depending on the alt you pick, e.g. Erdrick, Nate also has his own group of swappable alts. However, unlike Hero, each of his alts will have separate stats and attack. Ooh. Although they all stem from a base moveset. They aren't too radically different from each other. Yes, I know that means they should technically be Echo Fighters, but I only thought of that after crafting the submission and I like my original idea better, so yeah! But the real kicker is... there are 8. I'm not gonna even try to pronounce all of these, because I'm not going to be able to. That's right, Nate will be joined by 7 the representatives, to comprise a total of 8 separate characters to play as. You're probably thinking, are you insane? 8 separate characters? That's totally impossible. And normally I would agree with you. But this is a peasant's perspective. We're not just realists, we're dreamers. Can we make this the slogan of the series, please? I love that. I love that so much. Therefore, without further ado, I proudly present to you my idea for a Yokai Watch representative in Super Smash Bros. This is the Watcher. Each of the different characters represent the various eras depicted in the Yokai Watch franchise. 2 for the present, 2 for the past, 2 for the future, and 2 for the distant future. As mentioned previously, each character also has a different stat spread and playstyle. This is the core identity of the characters, and is the main reason why I chose this specific option over a specific yokai. While playing as the series' mascot characters, such as Jibanyan would be cool, I feel like it would revolve too much around specific character personalities rather than show a good representation of the series. So, with The Watcher, I wanted to emphasize on what is the core identity of the series: strategy and adaptability. Speaking from my own experiences, of the many games I've played, whenever I'm stuck on a particularly difficult boss or section, I tend to just brute force with whatever method I've currently been using until it works sooner or later. However, with Yokai Watch, the game encourages you to swap out and try new strategies, with the different abilities and attributes of each yokai that are able to interact with each other for some excellent combo play, which on the whole makes it feel satisfying whenever I triumph with my new attack technique. Separate from the concept for a moment, but can I just compliment you on how ridiculously easy this is to read? I don't know if it's the formatting or just the font size, but this is really easy to narrate. I really appreciate that. This singular concept was something I wanted to convey through the moveset, so as a result, I made each character a somewhat unique archetype with their own strengths and weaknesses. So if playing as one character doesn't go well, it's encouraged to switch to another and try them out. This is why some characters didn't make the cuts. I didn't see much potential in them that would make them unique. But anyways, with all those introductions out of the way, here are the playable fighters. I'm not too familiar with the technicalities, so I'll just give a short description of each character's personality / playstyle. Nate, his stats are average, as literally every character likes to point out to him. He doesn't necessarily excel in any specific area. Haley is very light on her feet, away from rushing to buy all the newest anime merch, but her physical attacks and defense are really weak in comparison. She's also the easiest to launch. Projectiles are her strong suit. Jack is relatively agile, and is somewhat of a zoner, being able to set nifty traps like Snake. And then Alistair, stat-wise, is pretty much the same as Nate, except slightly faster and stronger. Summer has physical sweeping moves that can combo nicely into each other. Her overall playstyle is mainly defensive, but she can be aggressive when she wants to be. This is almost making me want a Yokai Watch fighting game. Like, I could see this working in Smash Brothers, but I almost wonder if... Well, no, because this is more to advertise Yokai Watch to a wider audience, because not as many people play the games. I think that's more just because they released way too many in quick succession. Anyway, I'm getting off track. Toma has the greatest strength overall of the 8, oh my gosh, English, words, hard. With a trade-off being he has almost as low defense as Inaho. Jinpei is the second fastest of the bunch, has really powerful physical attacks, being a brawler type. However, his other attacks are weaker in comparison. And Chiaki plays both like a brawler and a ranger. His grabs are the strongest of the bunch, and his physical attacks are almost as powerful as Jinpei's. He also has I'm sure I'm mispronouncing every single one of those. Alright, let's get to the actual movesets. Section 1, base moves. Jab is a standard 3-hit jab combo, much like Luigi. The only exception is Jinpei, who will perform a rapid jab at the end of the combo like Kirby does. Side tilt, the character will perform a quick Haymaker punch, in reference to the beta of Yokai Watch 4 that had the characters do Haymakers instead of using spirit weapons. Up tilt will do a quick fist pump, down tilt will do a quick leg sweep. And dash attack, most characters will perform a quick dodge roll for some quick chip damage. However, I'm just gonna not say the names, because I'm sure I'm not doing these well. We'll have more powerful dodge rolls with adequate knockbacks, as well as aerial forward momentum, which can lead into combos if used properly. Think Little Mac's side special, but a dodge roll. I like that these are all very simple animations that plenty of characters in the game have, that actually makes having 8 separate characters in one slot feasible, just because you're just reusing assets from various parts of the game. Down to right there. Aerial attacks are pretty standard as well. For the neutral air, the character will activate a quick burst of yokai energy that hits like Mario's down air. It looks like Hero's magic burst move. This is an original move made solely for the purposes of Smash. Forward air is similar to Mario's, a haymaker spike. Up air will do a quick upwards kick into enemies above. Down air will do a quick stomp, just like Luigi's, except it's pretty weak and can't spike. And back air will do will quickly kick backwards. Say the first initial. That's good. That's a good idea. Thank you, Brady. And the grab throws are basic as well. The only variation here is for N, S, and H for these characters, their respective helper yokai. Either Whisper, Future Whisper, or USA Pion? Is that how you say that? Or is it Usapion? Either way, will appear and perform the pummels for them. For directional throws, this inadvertently allows for these characters to start attacking again with low end lag, since the helper will be the one busy attacking. Everyone else, A, S, C, and J, will do their own thing. Like grabbing, it's pretty simple, just grab and punch. Forward throw will either do a more forceful punch with decent knockback, or the helper will immediately summon a Japanese paper fan and smash opponents with it. The fan finally comes back, yes! At least it's somewhere in the game. I miss that item. Up throw, the character will forcefully throw opponents upwards, which can lead into combos. Down throw, oops. The character will throw their opponent to the ground and quickly punch them. And then the back throw, the character will throw the opponents behind them and forcefully kick them. Ah, here we go. I was expecting, like, okay, all these normals are pretty simple to allow the Smash and specials to be special, which is what it seems to be the case. This is where the originality of the movesets really starts to show. In Yokai Watch 4, human characters were given spirit weapons that were used for their basic attacks. However, for Smash, I wanted to use these for the Smash attacks instead of the neutral special to reserve the spot for a different move. Each character has a different weapon that they use for a different style of attack. H, A, J, and C don't have spirit weapons, since they weren't playable in that game, so I just gave them weapons befitting of their personalities. N wields a small toy hammer with little range and does an average amount of damage. H has got a magical staff with moderate range that produces magic beams with each attack. S wields a giant Naginata. What was that pronunciation of Naginata? Good grief! I'm grabbing more water. 1 second. A giant Naginata that has sweeping physical attacks with large range, almost as big as Sephiroth's sword. T wields a sword that has normal range. J wields a club that smashes opponents. And then A wields a boomerang that has more ranged attacks, mainly by throwing. Albeit with the trade-off that smash attack can't be used when it isn't present, so these cannot be spammed. Interesting, okay. J uses his hands, but they're magically enhanced to do more damage, so a monk, I like it. And C uses various musical instruments. Oh, I'd play as Chiaki. I love bards. I love bards so much. For the side smash, the character will swing their weapon forcefully either forwards or backwards towards their opponents. The only exceptions to this are A, who will throw his boomerang and catch it afterwards, and C, who produces a loud burst with his trumpets. Up smash, the character will swing their weapon of choice in a forwards arc, and down smash, the character will swing their weapon in a full 360-degree rotation. The only exception is C, who will generate shockwaves with his guitar instead that stun and cause opponents to cause knockback to opponents near him. Okay, I'm liking this. Like, they're all off the same base, but you're like... This is doing enough to give them their own separate identities. That's fun. I really like that. There's Nate's hammer. Summer's Naginata. Thomas' sword. Jack's club. Alright, special moves. These specials really show each of the characters' distinct personalities and make them stand out with their combination of regular attacks and yokai powers, befitting of the title, The Watcher. For the neutral special, I wanted to have a standard move that would be a valuable tool for combat, not just a move that's used once in a while when you remember it exists. And what better way to do that than with projectiles? Yay! I love projectiles so much. I'm joking. I play as DDD. Projectiles are fun to spit back at people. Everyone uses a different type of projectile with different range and speed. For example, for Nate's, he wields a gun. And no, this isn't just for memes, this is a core part of his moveset. When the button is pressed, he'll use the Yokai Blaster to fire energy blasts in short spurts, at the same speed as Joker 2. However, when the button is held down, he'll switch to the Yokai Bazooka to fire a giant beam at opponents that can stun and cause knockback. The downside is the charge beam has significantly more end lag than a normal blast. H will borrow her helper Usoppon. I just read this. What was it? Usopion's blast and repeatedly fire quick beams, approximately the same speed as Fox and Falco. S will use some of her hidden power to fire small red beams that move extremely slowly that can cause massive explosions. That's fun. Slow projectiles are so fun in fighting games. Like, please, more of those. T will fire small, slow-moving beams that don't do much damage, bounce out the rest of his moves. J will create small metrical stars that move at a regular speed and burst upon contact with opponents. A will throw runes that can cause brief debuffs if they land on opponents. If they don't, another opponent could potentially pick them up and throw them on somebody else, so that they're affected. Fun. Debuffs are always cool. J will punch opponents in front of him, but also fire blasts that can hit faraway opponents. And C will fire short blasts using his trumpet that travel somewhat slowly and give average damage. There's Nate's gun. And for the side special, I wanted to have a powerful base move that could be used reliably and firmly hit opponents and start combos. For Ends, he'll wield a powerful hammer from Yokai Watch 3's Zombie Night minigame, and use it to slam foes for greater knockback and damage and knockback a la Tinkaton from Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. H will ride a giant toy rocket that will move from one side of the screen to the other, similar to Villager's Lloyd rocket, except it has a much stronger blast when it explodes. S will dash forward, striking with her staff, similar to Sephiroth's up special. T will use his Onimaru power to supercharge his arm and ram it into foes, in a similar manner to Nate. Jack will set up a powerful explosive trap that detonates when foes come in contact with it. Cannot control when it detonates, similar to the games. Fun. Alistair will summon his guardian spirit, Kenshin Amaterasu, to barge into the opponent with his staff, like a combination of Banjo-Kazooie's Wonder Wing. Also like that move, it'll be extremely powerful and limited to only 5 uses per stock. J will dash forward with a flurry of punches, similar to the Mii Brawler's Super Special. Super Special? Neutral Special? What game am I talking about? Good grief. Finally, Chiaki will use his guitar to fire shockwaves that can hit opponents. This is an original move for Smash, inspired by Chiaki's hero transformation, which will be used for certain other moves. This is so interesting. Normally, I'm not fond of just repurposing moves from across the cast, but I think it actually works here because you're trying to do so much with this moveset. Because, like, from what I know of Yokai Watch and all the crazy yokai that are in it, actually showing, like, we have variety all over the place actually seems, like, pretty representative of the series as a whole. I like that. I'm surprised by how much I like that. My left arm is way stronger than my right. Like. I also appreciate the GIFs. It's always nice to have that kind of visual representation. Alright. For Nate's up special, he'll summon the yokai... Oh gosh. I'll try. Komaka-chan. To bounce him super high into the air like a trampoline. This would be the highest reaching recovery, however he will not be in freefall on the way down. He can execute aerials. Those are always fun. Haley will summon some of her drones to fly into the air, like Olimar's up special. Summer will use her hidden power to teleport upwards into freefall, similar to Zelda's up special. Toma will transform into one of the 4 Genma yokai, Goemon, and furiously slash swords upwards in a similar manner to Link or Mii Sword Fighter's up specials. If it hits an opponent, it can deal crazy amounts of damage. Jack will generate a magical explosive they will throw at a foe. They work similar to Link's bombs, where they can be thrown and detonated at any time. This is also an original move made for Smash based on a zoner playstyle in Yokai Watch 4. Alistair will summon God-side form Tengu to create a harsh gusts of wind that will blow him upwards. It can also hit opponents just like Hero's up special. Jinpai will soar upwards with a burst of energy similar to Fox's iconic Fire, hitting above opponents to lead into combos. And Chiaki will use a Spirit Snake to grab opponents from above like Joker's grappling hook, which can lead into various combos. This is an original move made for Smash based on Chiaki's snake motif and hero transformation, which you'll see later. There's Komaka-chan. And finally, for the down special, I wanted to include a core part of the Yokai Watch games, buffs and debuffs. Each character has a specific status move that both complements and enhances their playstyle. For Nate, he'll use his Yokai Watch to perform... Wait, is it literally a watch? Is that why I had no idea! Neat! I learned a thing today. Just increases all his base stats slightly. An average buff for an average foe. Sorry. Coughing. Haley will be granted a buff by her helper. I just read this. Usapyon, which increases the speed of her projectiles. Some will perform a buff that significantly increases her defense. Both Toma and Jack will be able to perform slight offensive buffs for their respective moves. Alistair will be granted a buff by Amaterasu that increases defense and magical attacks. Jinbai will be able to perform an offensive buff that tremendously increases the power of his physical attacks, making his body glow a strong red aura. Why am I like... I've got like mucus at the back of my throat. I'm just stopping mid-sentence so much. Apologies for that. We're fine. Finally, Chiaki will be able to use a buff that increases the power of his musical attacks involving various instruments such as the mallet, trumpet, and guitar. And the final smash. I originally thought it would be fitting for Nate to use the power of friendship and all of his yokai companions to help him wail on opponents for his final smash. But then I started thinking, why does he need to? He has the godlike powers of the Smash Ball that allow characters to conjure massive flames and turn invincible. Why should he need to rely on his friends again? So for his new final smash, Nate will use his newfound power to go Super Saiyan and turn into his new powerful form. Beware the sponge, no. Called Kakusei Kaita. Kakusei Kaita? Sure. Which I'll officially dub as Kaita Awoken, after the naming scheme of similar yokai forms. This form stems from the mobile gacha game Yokai Watch Puni Puni, or Wibble Wobble it was called worldwide, where he was offered as a special reward that you could get from a limited time event in celebration of the game's 7th anniversary. Despite the game being a gacha game, I can't help but admit that it had some of the best character designs in the series. In this form, he'll charge at the opponent and fly straight through them, dealing the majority of the damage, before sending smaller Yoki, the pink orb surrounding him, to finish the job. If right next to an opponent when activated, he'll instead summon the Yokai Sovereign Lord Enma. But rather than Enma attacking, the two will instead fuse to create the powerful Keno. Normally this isn't possible without the power of the Fusion Watch, which is also Puni Puni exclusive, but I'll let it slide for the sake of Smash. This form comes from a Puni Puni event where humans and yokai fuse to create new, more powerful forms, which were all extremely awesome designs. Once created, this fusion will then summon the legendary Zord, Or Power Rangers now, good grief. The Enma Blade to slash foes similarly to Kirby's Final Smash. However, unlike that move, the effect of the slash will also create one large fiery beam, a fusion of Meta Knight's sword beams and Mario's Final Smash that will spread across the screen, hitting any remaining foes. Once completed, the two will split and the battle will continue again. Sorry, Keita, I'm sorry. You know what I'm talking about. For Haley, she'll annoyingly taunt her partner, Yokai, so much that he doesn't go into his usual invader mode, but instead goes one level further and turns into his Emperor mode, turning a bright shade of pink. Emperor mode Usapan will then use a special move, Imperial Beam, and shoot a giant laser in the direction the pair is facing, similar to Samus's Final Smash. Summer turns into the Oni Princess Shuka and teleports across the screen, summoning large black magic beams. I find it interesting that we're going with totally unique Final Smashes for each character. I almost wonder if it would be better for them to share something that like brings them all together, and like take that uniqueness and put it more towards the actual movesets. I don't know. I don't know enough about Yokai Watch. My reason for thinking this is that Final Smashes aren't always used while the full movesets are. Tomo will use one of the Yusaiken, or the Yokai Holy Swords, to transform into so many Japanese names. Fudo Myoyo, short, who will perform his special move. This will involve Fudo Myoyo powering up his sword with electricity, then performing one giant slash into the opponent, dealing huge amounts of damage and knockback, as well as causing electric shocks on the battlefield. Once performed, Fudo Myoyo will then leave Toma, and the battle will resume. Jack will call upon the assistance of his guardian spirit, Suzan, will transform into his true form, Gunshin Susano, and ram into the opponent with his oversized sword, causing considerable knockback. Once the move finishes, Suzan will transform back to normal and leave Jack to continue fighting. For Alistars, he will make use of the God Watch. This is an actual thing in canon, a gift from his guardian spirit to summon powerful God-side yokai to attack opponents. The attack will be three-pronged, consisting of Tengu Kura. They barely have anything in common to constitute a Final Smash? Okay. I see. So you kind of use this as a chance to be like, okay, here's how they're really cool and different. I can get behind that. Blowing powerful gusts of wind to push opponents into a part of the stage where Kappa Osagojo? Sure. Will then blast them with bursts of water, before Neko Bastet will finish them off with 5 balls of fire that collide with the opponents to create a massive explosion. This attack is a direct reference to the Yokai Watch movie, where the same attack is used against one of the primary antagonists, Shion. And Jinpai and Trakis have very similar Final Smashes, and that they both rely on their main source of power, their hero forms. During these moves, these characters will transfer into their powerful hero forms and use them to attack their opponents. I initially just wanted these to be playable, but given the more cinematic nature of Final Smashes and Ultimates, the attacks will just play out instead. For Jinpai's, will transform into Earthwalker Noah, and dash all over the screen with his yo-yos. With his yo-yos? Wait, what? For striking a snazzy pose, causing all opponents hit by the yo-yos to be launched. I imagine this would function similar to Joker's all-out attack, with the same suave and style. Oh my gosh, I'm just picturing Joker's all-out attack, but instead of like the shadows moving around really quickly to represent the characters, it's just a bunch of yo-yo tricks hitting people over and over again. That's a great mental image. For Chiaki's, he'll transform into Sky Snaker. A short cutscene will play, showcasing the characters attending the concert of Sky Snaker before he unleashes electric cords with his guitar that sends them flying in all directions. When the cutscene finishes, the opponents will momentarily be stunned before being launched backwards. I will say for the, just in terms of presentation, it definitely would have been better to have the references here on the parts that, like, just have them below the Final Smashes, because I already can't remember what these were referencing to. That's great, though. I love yo-yo trick final moves. Then for additional conference. Up top, the characters turn towards the camera, does an encouraging upwards fist pump, and yokai helpers will appear in pose as well. Side top, the characters scan the surrounding area with their watch while searching attentively for yokai. Down top, the characters put their fists up in the battle-ready position. I love the drawing. The stage would be Yokai World. It would fly over a stage like Lumios or New Donk City. Just fly over major locations in the Yokai World. We got some music selections here. Is this a bit much? There's never too much music in these games. Come on. Can't really comment on those. I love Kirby hats so much. My heart grows 3 sizes every time I see someone put a Kirby hat in their presentations. Thank you. I think I like the summer one the most. Assuming that's like a beret hat. I'd love to see Kirby in that. So cute. Conclusion. Yokai Watch is probably one of my favorite franchises, and would be absolutely incredible if it was able to get some representation in Super Smash Bros. Someday. While this option is incredibly unlikely, it still provides a great look into not what only could it potentially look like, but the gist of the franchise as a whole. I feel like this franchise is massively underrated for many reasons, people calling it a Pokemon ripoff, massive sales flops in the West, and I wanted to give the series the attention it deserves, especially for its 10th anniversary. I hope that this moveset somewhat inspired you to check out the series. By all means, please do. While having its fair share of less than stellar qualities, there's just so much to love about the world and the characters, and I hope you give it a try sometime. If you're interested in learning more about the series, I'll post a video to my YouTube channel, Magolord, sometime, retrospectively analyzing each Spartan? What the hell? Each part. Stay tuned. I also have a short Kirby animation and I'm working on. 1 episode is already up. Maybe check it out on the stream. Unfortunately, I don't want to make that a... that gets complicated just moving forward with setting a precedent. But I will check it out after the stream. Next slide for the special message. Hello, me! Hello, me. Say I'm a huge fan of yours. I've been subscribed for over a year. I would like to watch every one of yours. More that come out. Thank you! I also love listening to your podcast with Peer. Oh! Gosh, I should have said this in the morning. All y'all better go to, like, Designing for just Pierre's Discord and wish him a happy birthday, because today is his birthday. Don't know how old he's turning, but, you know, I think he's done a lot this year. He's worth celebrating. So go wish him a happy birthday. If you'd like me the opportunity to share a voice of fabulous ideas. Aw, thank you. Just hoping you all have a great 2023. That was quite fun. I especially appreciated just how much... like, this was a lot of text, but this is one of the easiest... I think it's just... it might just be the font size. That and having white text over a darker background just really makes it pop easier. Pierre, why the hell are you watching this stream on your birthday? Go have fun. Happy birthday, man. I hope it's a good one for you. In terms of any feedback, I think the biggest thing would just be having the referenced pictures directly underneath what it is referencing. Like, by the time I got to the actual image of Nate's, I had completely forgotten what Nate's was. Apart from that, this was great. I also didn't know much about Yokai Watch. I will admit, I kind of did write it off. It's just like, oh, it's another Pokemon clone, but... you have, at the very least, increased my interest in this series, which I imagine was your intention. Which I imagine was your intention. Alright, well done, Magolord. That was fun. Right. Let's grab the next one. Coming up next is an idea from the Fossilized Nerd. who's here to show off their idea for an Ice Climbers reboot. Here's your friendly reminder. Share the link with the chat. Here's your unfriendly reminder. Fuck off! Alright, but yeah, I'll copy the link. Here you guys go. Oh. I respect it, but I also hate it so much. That's so funny. So, I've got a lot of ideas kicking around inside my head. Some for original concepts, some for series that have existed for a long time, and some for things that aren't even games but can expand games into other forms of media. But this one, it's been in my head for a long, long time. Ever since 2017, a whole 6 years ago now. Somehow. Oh gosh, that is 6 years ago. Ugh. And I've been struggling to put it to pen and paper because the idea is so wild and so nonsensical from a business perspective that it's almost impossible to justify as a thing a company might ever attempt to pitch. Would it sell? Would it ever have fans? Would any developers actually want to make this? I have no idea. So I'll get right to the point. What if Ice Climber got a reboot? As in the Smash Bros. Fighter introducing Smash Bros. Melee as a retro pick. The one with a horrendously slippery and difficult arcade platformer released on the NES. And the same one with polar bears wearing swim trunks and sunglasses, a pterodactyl flying over glaciers, and miniature furry creatures called Topi that look more like a Yeti. That Yeti had a love child with a kappa, and lived inside a Neurax-style truffle tree for a couple of years. Yes, that Ice Climber. I hate this cold so much. 1 second. I need water. I apologize for gross mouth sounds. Okay. Yes, that Ice Climber. It's not the most exciting of games, looking back on its legacy, and the game is a little too painful for its own good with its lack of genuine replay value. Beyond shooting for a high score. While the added popularity and investment in the IP from avenues like Switch Online and Super Smash Bros. Melee, Brawl, and Ultimate, I am a firm believer that Ice Climber as a series could lay the groundwork for an incredibly interesting experience that no other game has ever attempted as a genre. And I'm going to call it a competitive survival adventure platformer. The game opens on a cute Ghibli-style cutscene of a small log cabin village, where children are running around outside. Two tiny children in large parkas are running around throwing snowballs at each other when an avalanche shakes the ground. Villagers run away screaming and hustle inside their homes. But the two children have no idea what to do, and grab each other for protection. As they brace for impact, the snow slams into them, pushing them away from the village, and they fall off a cliffside nearby. The scene fades to black, and when it resumes, the two kids wake up in a cave next to a classic Ice Climber polar bear. Swim trunks, sunglasses, and all. He's in the middle of hibernation under a tanning lamp, or he was before the avalanche started. So he gets up at the sight of the kids stirring from their sleep. He points them towards the exit of the cave, where the kids struggle to see above them due to the blinding light from the snow's reflection on the ground. They are at the bottom of the mountain, and need to climb back up to return home. The bear hands the children three things: a pickaxe, a hammer, and a coil of rope, and sends them on their way. You play as either Nana or Popo, one of the two Ice Climber siblings, the same kids who fell in the avalanche. I don't think they are... I don't think their relationship is actually confirmed at charge, but I will say I like the interpretation that they're siblings the most. I feel like that has the strongest just bond to work off of with a like a competitive cooperative game setup. Sakurai's not Sakurai didn't make the game. He wouldn't be a what's the word I'm looking for? Authority on the matter. The openings, and even if they weren't beforehand, they could easily retcon them, because again, I think that's just the best relationship they can have for these sorts of games. The opening to the game, before you even reach a menu, is the first leg of Icicle Mountain, where the player learns the ropes of the game, both figuratively and literally. Players traverse the mountain from a 3D perspective, with the classic 3D platformers behind the protagonist's camera view. Co-op is available for all content in the game, both online and locally. That's so adorable. Like, it's so simplistic, but it sells everything you're trying to get off there. Like, there's one of them, there's the other one, calling from the bottom. That's so cute! Alright, fundamentals. Controls. Players will control an ice climber with a nice, soft pace to their run, akin to Kirby from his most 3D outing, The Forgotten Land. Jump with A, climb by running at the walls and jumping into them, throw balls of whatever soil is beneath your feet with Y, and investigate your surroundings with X to read up on what you're looking at or simply examine something. The climbers come with a set of tools that can be quick swapped with the bumper buttons L and R. A handy pair of binoculars is available with ZR, and a button to call for help is set to ZL. If you don't have help, you can change your input to a myriad of other noises and little childlike sounds, really to lean into the cuteness and simplicity of their design. The kids can jump a little higher than their... God damn it, Pierre. I think it's funnier to knock your husband off the mountain. They're children, Pierre. Child marriage promise! Anyway, the kids can jump a little higher than their own height, grab onto ledges and run faster if they hold B while running. However, this consumes stamina. Much like Zelda Breath of the Wild, the ice climbers rely on a stamina meter to perform certain tasks. Part of the magic of this experience is learning when to best expand your stamina to get a task done. Swinging your hammer and pickaxe both use stamina, climbing your rope uses stamina, and sprinting requires stamina. Depending on the circumstance you place yourself in, you will either consume more or less stamina. In an environment like Icicle Mountain, for instance, a thick parka will reduce the stamina they consume but will slightly decrease the run speed. But if players choose to take a nice thick parka to the wrong mountain, such as Obsidian Volcano, they're going to overheat and consume stamina infinitely faster than if you just wore the proper clothing. On a related note, every location can encounter tons of weather conditions, including pouring rain, strong winds, snowstorms, avalanches, earthquakes, and if you're unlucky enough, a volcanic eruption. With a number of coats to purchase from Sundry the Bear, the same polar bear from before, you can gear up your climber for anything, but the prices might get out of hand. Certain conditions will influence everything else. Slippery slopes from rainfall and ice will make climbing legends and sprinting more dangerous. Good grief. Excessive heat will weaken the strength of your pickaxe when destroying obstacles. The hammer probably won't be easy to swing around to bonk enemies when the ground is shaky, right? Your prep work at base camp at the foot of the mountain will determine a lot about your run up the mountain. The pickaxe is your obstacle breaker. To get out a small hovel in a cliff wall, to gain shelter from strong winds, break rocks and boulders that have fallen along trails, and mine resources to bring you back down the mountain to base camp when your expedition ends. The hammer is your combat tool and your safety tool. Bonk a Toby threatening to steal your food, or even hit a snowball to propel it further away at an orbiting condor. The pterodon, I guess it's called the condor for some reason. But your hammer is also the key to nailing stakes into the ground to set up a tent, or to pin up a rope so you can't blow away when you begin the climb. The climbers can even beat on its large wooden surface like it's a little drum if you leave them in a comfortable spot for an idle animation. That's cute. Just having a little jam session on their hammers, that's so cute. The rope is the second half of your safety tools and a major component of your resource collection. With the rope, you gain the ability to hog-tie items recovered from mountains and even enemies to bring them around with you, before the aforementioned rope climbing feature. This gives the player an instant risk versus reward situation where they need to either use that rope to climb or save a partner, or ditch that advantage to collect extra goodies. Your bag is quite small after all. Don't forget you always have the power of inspection and a ball of ground material at your disposal. Think outside the box and you'll be rewarded, such as using a snowball to extinguish a torch, or throwing a ball of wet sand into a rocky crack to patch it up. Climbers can bring food to restore stamina faster, improve their safety condition, and carry other useful supplies for a journey. Grippy gloves and spiky cleats for ice, a nice umbrella to glide down and protect the kids from rainfall, an inflatable raft for small rivers and waterfalls. Or heck, what about a metal detector to spot faraway goodies and find rare resources in stony walls? There's a lot to buy, and you'll be compensated for your progress by Sundry the Bear. One very special pair of gloves grants the climbers a permanent upgrade, allowing them to blow icy cold winds from their palms. It's an incredibly expensive upgrade, and you won't even know it's in the shop until you find the recipe for it hidden in Icicle Mountain's depths. Survival. You cannot die in this game unless you fall into a pit, suffer a blow from a falling lava rock, or fall off a cliff. But you can lose consciousness. Balancing food, stamina, and temperature is the key to climbing a huge mountain successfully. Enemies will often try to steal your tools and goodies rather than harm, so you must be equipped to defend your resources or else your climb could be all for naught. If you have a co-op buddy, they can revive you from unconsciousness, but be wary as this will make your climb unable to be uploaded for sharing on leaderboards. We'll get to that later. What is the gameplay loop? Sundry is basically rocking Funky Kong looks, but with a very hard personality. Oh, Rainy Dawn, yes! He's tired, but he's absolutely committed, and he can tell you kids are working hard. He wants Popo and Nana to get back home, so he sends them on their way, and once they make it back, they realize that they can keep doing this. And that it's a thing they love to do. So Sundry does what any lazy yet caring mentor would do, and fosters their passion from way down at the bottom of the mountains. He's your menu guy. And you can sign up to go climbing at several mountains. The faster you climb, the bigger your score, and the more he pays you for returning his tools quickly. After all, your expeditions are increasing tourism. It's good press to invite more mountaineers, right? Especially when two little kids can survive just fine. Hey, yeah, kid, got all sorts of new wares and give him a look. What do you mean wrong? I'm pretty sure I spelled shop correctly on this. It's 5-hop. The fourth sequel to IHOP. Rewards are increased by how little you bring on your journey. At all its darkest dungeon rules, oh no. Adding another risk versus reward dynamic. Low equipment runs will force very careful use of stamina and lots of on-the-fly planning to succeed unless you know a really good route to get up a huge mountain. Over time, Sundry's little store will grow and more tourists will arrive, giving you extra people to talk to, collect missions from to perform odd jobs on mountains, and sell cool new stuff. If you work really hard, it'll grow into a whole ski lodge. Climbing a mountain has 3 options for expeditions: a 300-meter climb, a 1-kilometer climb, and a 5-kilometer climb. A full climb from a first-timer could last a solid 45 to 60 minutes in an ideal scenario. Wow! But they need to survive to make it up there while gathering all they want along the way. Resources returned after a climb can unlock new items at Sundry's for sale. The more you put in, the more you get out of the experience. And of course Sundry sells stylish stuff too, how could he not? Plus when you finish all the mountains, the game at least 5... hold on. Plus, once you finish all the mountains in the game at 5 kilometers at least once, he can become playable. But he isn't exactly agile and he can't use rope. But he's naturally better with temperature and combat. You win some, you lose some, I suppose. The mountains include Icicle Mountain, classical icy mountain, the Tropic Plateau, jungle-covered and rugged mountain with waterfalls all over, the Obsidian Volcano, a dangerous mountain with risky lava vents to climb into, the Terra Pyramid, a sounding mountain with high winds that almost look like a pyramid despite being all natural, the Aurora Spire, a colder, thinner mountain than Icicle Mountain, the Calypso Dome, a rounded mountain rising out of the sea with wild weather patterns and mysterious Hellenistic carvings and foes in its ruins, the Trash Heap. Remember that literal trash island in the Pacific? Yeah, that. But a huge pile that you need to climb on instead. We got Fossil Canyon, a massive canyon with remnants of the past in fossil form evolve in the canyon walls the higher up you go. That sounds fun! That was my favorite from that so far. The Deep Dark Chasm, why not climb down for a change? Reach the bottom to gather the best goodies from the scariest enemies the game can offer. then escape by getting out before the whole chasm collapses. And then actual mountains can be added as special events down the line, including things like Mount Fuji and Mount Everest. That's fun, I like that. Might also throw out the potential for, like, mountains in other video games. Like, you'd have Zelda's Death Mountain. Insert second example here. Like, maybe climb DK's face from DK Mountain, and get have fun with it. The mountains themselves aren't your only threats, as these mountains are also covered in enemies, mysteries, and even a few puzzles. But there does have to be a pretty clear focus on the mountain itself being the primary hardship here. This is no story about kids versus aliens or a village versus the big bad government. This is a story about kids versus the insurmountable force of nature and their journey to succeed. That is a really good pitch right there. Like, this is the #1 thing I look for in, like, concepts suggesting, like, their own new game. You gotta have a really good idea of the thematics, and that's just pitch perfect right there. Enemies change dramatically depending on the mountain, but there are a few basic enemy types that occur in all sorts of places. Topi are your Goombas. They're the most common and have multiple color fur variants depending on where you spot them. They're pretty easy to bonk and move on, though they do have a knack for working together to mess with you and put out campfires. The more you whack special and ancient constructs, the more likely a ruin beast will awaken. These creatures guard ruined structures and shrines on the mountain, and will try to push you off the nearest ledge to make sure to be extra careful with your hammer and pickaxe. These use different techniques depending on where you are. Oh, the Mechonis is a climbable that's so cool! Not all bears are as nice as Sundry, but the ones you encounter definitely will not have the cool sunglasses. And then condors return and can try to whisk you off a cliff wall. The best way of taking them out is with projectile balls or by intentionally triggering a rock slide or avalanche with reckless climbing. Be extra careful. Puzzles involve all sorts of varied approaches by similar conundrums, including fallen rubble, unusual keystones for doorways, setting up ropes across platforms to tightrope or slide across, throwing ground material at distant switches to activate them, and so on. Puzzles are more likely to reward the player with valuable collectibles and materials that can be exchanged later, but they could easily distract you from reaching your goal in a timely manner and getting the best rewards. The more you go into the mountain themselves and dig beneath the outer layers, the more linear your experience becomes. Utilizing the inner areas of these mountains is a surefire way of progressing upwards without getting lost once you know these mountains. The outside is far more harrowing and will be where most of your climb needs to take place, as caves and lucky ravines can only get you so far. Okay, so what was the competition part of all this then? So far it's just a survival platformer with a heavy emphasis on collection and mastering mountains. Well, let's see. Much like the days of the best online titles on Wii, this game will have a global leaderboard where players can share their scores and try to compare with their friends. The longer you hold a top-ranked spot, i.e. the top 100k in that expedition difficulty, the more money you'll bring into Sundry, and it'll praise you for your hard efforts. You can also collect bonuses by comparing with friends in your friends list. Certain competitions will be held on a monthly basis with specific challenges that stray from the rest of the game and its goals, similar to that of the tourists. Take a picture with Sundry's camera of a Topi in the water. Cause a boulder to fall into the giant ice fish's pond. Collect 50 golden ore, then have it all stolen by enemies, and so on. But be wary, as you only get a set number of times to max to submit a successful run. Climb well and enjoy sweet victory. And then online versus. This is where we have 2 ice climbers added to the game beyond just theming. Players can be online 1v1 or 2v2 to successfully clear an objective with fixed goals or custom rules. The different approaches players can take to climb such massive and foreboding mountains can make for very entertaining live streams and even speedruns. As an aside, the joy of events like GDQ inspired this entire concept to begin with. I want to see people compete to survive and rapidly strategize, and this feels like a great way to do it in an environment that's a bit like Kirby or Fall Guys with that Breath of the Wild-esque survival and exploration edge. that sounds like an utter delight. Like, just having, like, different... Oh, you know what? This would be, like, the perfect kind of game to have something like... what's it called in Odyssey? The Luigi's balloon thing. Where you just leave a balloon somewhere and you challenge the other player to get to it in the same amount of time. That'd be so good. Beyond what I've listed here, all I've got left is that I want this game to be absolutely gorgeous. And you almost need to do this to roping players because this franchise has basically no fans. And its music can slant towards atmospheric over melody driven. Ideally, it would change or amplify in presence when you do specific things, such as running steadily, or climbing a sheer cliffside, or resting in a tent with some food. Oh man, that took a lot to get out. Sorry for rambling here, but I think I've got a fun one people will enjoy. I don't know who would or could develop this, but I believe in a future where we can enjoy climbing mountains in a safer way. This might be the most fun way to do it that isn't picking up a copy of Celeste. Holy crap, go play that, it's too good. Cheers. This is an utter delight. Like, I've always had the idea in the back of my head, probably from other people because it's thrown around often, of kind of like a It Takes Two interpretation of the Ice Climbers, but I honestly like this better. It kind of gives me the same vibes of like a Lego game almost, but with a competitive spin on it by trying to encourage you to both get to the top of the mountain before you run out of supplies and compete with others to get the best times. Gives it some much needed pressure, risk reward that the Lego games just don't have. And I think that could result in a really fun game. Yeah, I don't really have much to add to this. I think this is just kind of a perfect revisiting of the Ice Climbers. I would kind of want like specific examples of like narrate a specific part of the mountain and just kind of describe how an ice climber can get through any puzzles or survive. I do have a lot of it's a very vague picture in my mind, and I want just an idea of like, okay, you see this rock here and a switch down here. How do you get the rock down to the switch? Just something like that. But even then, I don't think it's really necessary. I think the mental image that this has provided is already extremely alluring. Alright, well done, Fossilized Nerd. That was fun. Okay, what was the one I had slated for next? Yes, okay. Next up, let's get to the next song. From Radfarious, we got a couple of Cuphead movesets. And Radfarious is here to join to those ranks. When it comes to the roster of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, there is a distinct lack of a certain type of game, and that type of game is indie games. Sure, Shovel Knight is an assist trophy, and Shantae, Sans, and Cuphead have Mii costumes, but there is no legitimate character from an indie game on the roster. I think Cuphead would be a great candidate for a slot. Do I think he would get in before Shovel Knight or the human from Undertale? No. Shovel Knight is the most popular indie game character, unless you count Steve, which I don't, and having Cuphead be added before him would be weird. And before the human could make sense, but let's get into how I think Cuphead would be like in Ultimate. Let's start with how the Cup will look and sound. They already have a Cuphead model out already, and I think it looks great. Just make him a little smaller and give him yellow gloves. He will have his voice from the Cuphead show, because he should, and if you say otherwise, I'll make you fight Grim Matchstick with 1 heart. Oh gosh, the horror! His colors also would be normal, black and white, yellow and white, the bad ending, and 2, 4, 6, 8 are all Mugman, because, you know, of course. Also have his voice from the Cuphead show because it's wonderful. Got the normal, it's got the black and white, yellow and white, and the bad ending. Cuphead would be a light character. Not lighter than Pichu, but still, he's light enough to be that 2 of Bowser's forward smashes could kill him. His size would be almost the same as Mario, same with his running and walking speed. You have 2 jumps with no additional movement options. Oh gosh darn it! Unfriendly reminder part 2, dude. There you go. Thank you. His jab would be punches with his right hand, his left, and then a put-him-up gesture with his hands for a rapid jab. Fun. Dash attack pulls out a tire and rolls it forward. This is a tire. Ooh, I like the idea of expanding the moveset with the Cuphead show. That's brilliant. Because, like, the baseline game just doesn't have really have enough, like, things to pull from. But you take the show into account, and oh, that's got so much. F tilt throws a skee ball. Again, Cuphead show reference. Up tilt swings a paintbrush upward in a counterclockwise direction. Little nice epic Mickey reference there. Down tilt uses a mallet you see in old Looney Tunes cartoons and swings it down. This can bury opponents if they're at high percents. F smash has his fist grow and punch the opponents. Up smash pulls out a cannon and fires it upward, but it's paint instead of a Nice. It's paint instead of a cannonball, but trust me, if you added more gunpowder, it wouldn't be any different than being hit by a cannonball. Then down smash performs Special Art 3, aka the buff soul attack. The soul would spin around a couple of times before stopping. Forward air grabs his head and thrusts it forward. Up air is Cuphead's milk bubbles. Just juggling people with milk bubbles. That's great mental image. Down air clicks his heels, which can spike opponents, and back air takes his glove and slaps an opponent with it. And then onto the neutral air, the parry. This parry would be able to spike opponents, but if an opponent has a projectile, there's a possibility that it will become pink. If you parry the object, it will disappear. Cuphead will get another jump, and a special becomes ready. Ooh! So it's not every projectile. It's a chance kind of deal. But if you parry it, you get cool things. I like this. It's a nice workaround from just having a parry potentially just invalidate projectiles in general. This is a good workaround. Cuphead would have a normal grab. His palm would stomp on the opponent's foot, even if they don't have feet. Cuphead tosses his opponents up, grabs his head, and hits the opponent with it for the forward throw. For his up throw, he will throw his opponents on his head and blows into his straw, causing the milk to bubble and the opponent to be launched upward. It's just a milk geyser. That's hilarious. Down throw pulls out the invisible sweater and places it on the opponent, electrocuting the opponents. Oh, that's great. That would be such a confusing animation for people that didn't know what the context was. That's so good. And then back throw, Cuphead gives the opponents a bomb, pushes them behind him, and the bomb blows up. I love how much this is referencing just classic cartoons in general. It's so fun. Neutral would of course be the finger gun. Holding the B button will have Cuphead fire his shots. He can fire in all directions and can fire while he can move while firing them. The shots will not stop being fired unless Cuphead is hit by an opponent. Tapping the B button would have Cuphead perform an EX shot. He can only do this if a special is ready. If Cuphead has all 5 specials ready, he will perform the first super art you get in the game, which is the giant milk beam of death, my nickname for it. There's only one problem. None of these deal any knockback. If anyone was charging a forward smash, the shot, EX shot, or special art will not stop it. It will only deal damage. This is the basic idea from the moveset. Use your specials to deal enough damage and finish off the opponent with your normals. This is a great way of working around how annoying the finger gun would be in any other context. Because for how fast that thing fires off, if that flinched at all, you just wouldn't be able to move. But by making it just pure damage, that gets around it entirely. Which is perfect. Side B is the dash. Tapping the button will often do his normal dash, while holding it down will do the smoke bomb dash. Normal is faster and gets you further, but Smoke Bomb leaves you less vulnerable and can prevent you from getting damaged. Fun little options, I like it.
Up B would pull out a rocket and jump onto it. The rocket would blast off and fly for about 5 seconds before exploding. Cuphead will be sent into freefall after this, giving opponents a chance to attack. Cuphead has been seen using rockets before. I'm pretty sure he has an obsession with them in the show. Plus, this could reference old cartoons as well. Water break, 1 second. And then down special would be how Cuphead would switch his shots. Each shot would appear in the UI, kind of like Shulk's down B. These shots would be the original 6 from the base game of Cuphead, so none of the DLC shots will appear. Once again, none of these shots will deal any knockback, only damage. And then for the final smash, oh my, hold on a second. For Cuphead's final smash, a hole would form in the middle of the stage. Out from it comes the devil, aka Old Scratch, aka Mr. S, the Big D. He would try to shoot Cuphead with his pitchfork, and this is where you would control the final smash. You would have to go near other opponents so the blast from the pitchfork would hit them. After 6 blasts have been fired, the devil would retreat back into the hole he appeared from, yelling, "I'll get that cup," ending the final smash. That's great. I'm curious though, does that mean you can damage yourself with your own final smash? Because that is hilarious, if so. Stage intro crashes into the stage on his plane. The taunts will be the animations we see him perform at the beginning of each boss of the game. Oh my gosh, I hate this cold. Yes, it would. Excellent, that's fun. So first victory animation is the result screen, second is jumping up and down joyfully, like in the overworld after completing a level, and for the third, a gold-colored flag pops out of the ground as Cuphead rides around on a rocket with an ice cream cone in his hands. Nice! And of course, the victory theme is the result screen. For his stage, it would be the same casino that the boys got in debt with the devil. It would be a traveling stage where you visit various parts of the casino, and the bosses you fight here would be in the background. King Dice would be a stage hazard here. Fun, I like that. And of course, music. Just a nice solid list of some fantastic tracks. Ha! Okay, that's a great classic mode. Titled Crossover Special, Cuphead would fight against characters in Smash who have had cartoons. That's so cute. Got Pac-Man, because of course, Mario and Slink, Sonic, Kirby, and Pikachu, Donkey Kong and K. Rool, Ryu, Ken, Mega Man, and Simon Belmont, because Captain N, and final round against Dracula. That's so good. This moveset has 3 inspirations. The game Cuphead, the Cuphead show, and the old cartoons, plus implementing the fact he's got a cup for a head. I was planning to have a section for a semi-echo character in the form of Miss Chalice, but that would take a while for me to make and for you to read, and I want everyone to get their ideas shown today. Please give me any problems you had with this moveset. I'll make sure not to make those mistakes again in any future movesets I make. Speaking of which, I have a Waluigi map set I'm working on. Ooh, so look forward to that. This concept seemed lackluster when compared. Stop it with this! No. You must be your own ally when presenting ideas. Alright, there's some other ideas to work on. Midnight spin-off, new Donkey Kong Country game, Wario Land, Waluigi Wear. Haha! Instagram similar to the Star Wars, but oh my gosh! Yo! Oh, I would you just spoke my love language. That's so good. Sort of like Kirby racing game in a Disney Smash clone. Nice! And one more thing. That's for you, Pierre, and you know what for. Okay. birthday again, Peter. That's great. Alright. Now, yeah, this is a lot of fun. I love how much is referenced just older cartoons here. It gives the moveset so much more personality than just a straight one-to-one translation of his movesets was. I've never considered taking inspiration from the Cuphead show, but that just fixes every problem that baseline Cuphead has when translated into Smash. This is so good. I love it. I guess just to kind of throw out ideas, I'd love it if this rapid jab actually fired off a bunch of bullets as well. Which might already be the case here, seeing as it's a rapid jab, but just rapidly firing the finger guns and just having a spray of bullets, that'd be so fun. Okay, let's think the Cuphead show then, if that's actually being able to be used. What else could there be? You know, I'm kind of drawing a blank here. This switch, like, I love Cuphead, and this moveset would make me so happy if it was in the game. It's got everything it needs to, and it fixes traditional problems I see with most movesets by making the parry a chance kind of deal, by making it so that not every projectile is pink, and making it so that the bullets don't deal any knockback. And with those three things in mind, like, you just got a solid running gun here, with some nice cartoon inspirations as well. I loved it, Radfarious. This is one of my favorite characters, and I think you did it justice. Final Smash adds in Bull Boy. That's great. Okay. Moving on. Going from one indie to another. We just had Cuphead. How about Sans? From GingerHeed. With being a fan of Super Smash Bros. For over 20 years, one question plagues the fandom as a whole. What character do you want most? Also, when will Duke remember to share the links in the chat? The answer is right now, my friends. For most people, it's usually pretty simple. Some people want a beloved hero from their childhood, like Banjo or Sora. Some people want to indulge in the horrifying power that characters like King K. Rool or Ridley inherently bring. Or some people want to root for the underdog, hoping one day they can make it into the big leagues. While I respect these opinions wholeheartedly, I want something much more different. Give me the chubby, goofy, almost terrifying Bone Man, and I'll be satisfied. Yes, you heard me correctly. I want Undertale Sans of all characters to join the roster more than any other. Why Sans? To be blunt, it's because Undertale is one of my personal favorites. And being not my favorite character in the game, but also my favorite fictional character, period. Wow. Sans has already been included as a costume for the Mii Gunner, and despite my excitement to see representation from one of my favorite games, I feel like selling on only a cosmetic item is doing Sans and Undertale as a whole a disservice of sorts, and a waste of potential. Oh my god! Fossilized Nerd just pointed out the whole, and Camp as well, the whole document is an in-comic Sans. That just dawned on me. That's so funny. And while I recognize that the protagonist of Undertale the Human would probably be better to represent the core mechanics and thematics of Undertale, I feel like Sans could easily add not only a fun and unique playstyle, but also a massive amount of personality, charm, and most importantly of all, hilarity to the Smash Bros. Roster. But Ness is already in Smash! I was just waiting for somebody to say it. Beware, there will be major spoilers for Undertale going forward. I'm sure everybody has already knows all that stuff, but in case somebody hasn't, go ahead and mute and stop now, or just... It's a good game if you haven't been spoiled by it. Who is this guy anyway? Great question. Sans is one of the many monsters that the player can encounter in their adventure. Usually, in most first-time playthroughs, he seems like a chill guy, albeit pretty lazy, with him constantly slacking off and taking legally required breaks. Despite this, he seems to generally care about not only his brother, but even the protagonist, with him constantly cracking jokes, pulling pranks, and occasionally pieces of advice. However, on more violent playthroughs, he can be much different. If the player chooses to go out of their way to kill a single monster in Underground, they transform the once quirky world of monsters into a desolate wasteland. Then you actually don't see him much for most of the game, past his introduction, until the very end of your journey, as he acts not only as the final boss, but also the final obstacle in the player's way to true destruction. Even if he knows, deep down, there's no point in trying to stop the inevitable. Pretty deep, huh? In terms of his appearance in Smash, he's kind of already got it, as he has an entire 3D model already made to use as a basis for his potential Smash design. There are a lot of ways to improve on this design even more, though. By making him a bit bigger boned and finally giving him his iconic facial expressions that would push his design beyond being kinda uncanny and into really appealing and goofy, you know? For his voice in Smash, I see two potential options. Give him his iconic voice blip from the game, use it in different tones to give him a voice that would probably give him Animal Crossing vibes, or give him an actual voice. This is a much riskier option as you risk alienating fans, which have their own headcanon voice for him. Playstyle: hit and run glass cannon. You're in the right mind to wonder how Sans can achieve damage output so absurd. Wait. Oh, hello. 1 second. Sans in Undertale is by far the weakest enemy in the game, having a flat 1 attack and defense stats. And in Smash he'd reflect this. His lazy attitude makes movement on the ground fairly sluggish. His run is more like a fast walk than an actual straight sprint. His air mobility isn't much to write home about either. His initial jump is fairly low, with a surprisingly high second jump, and he's pretty floaty in the air overall, falling pretty slowly. His most crippling weakness is his survivability. Being the lightest in the game by a hefty margin, a partly charged Ganon Smash attack is enough to absolutely kill this dude. However, these weaknesses come with some noticeable strengths. Sans as a character should not be viable on the surface, with him being intentionally pretty bad. Even Sans knows this. Realistically, he doesn't stand a chance against the various chosen heroes and cruel villains of the Smash roster. But here's the kicker. He doesn't have to be. Sans as a fighter would be the embodiment of work smarter, not harder, as not doing so will easily have you losing your stocks to more conventional characters. And to do this, Sans has decided that he doesn't want to be a conventional character. If he wants to be able to last in the fierce battles of Smash, he's gonna have to break a few rules to do so. For example, Sans can't afford to get hit. Getting hit would put him one hit closer to a quick demise, so he's just not going to allow the enemy to hit him. Sans plays more so like a hit-and-run zoner, designed to be very annoying and difficult to deal with. His attacks on the surface are very weak, but thanks to his gimmicks, his damage potential is off the charts, allowing him to kill you almost as easily as you can kill him. So as a result, his gameplay is weaving in and out of enemies, peppering them with attacks after attacks, increasingly making the enemy more and more pissed off at him after realizing they are already at kill percent, whilst they haven't even hit him once. Gimmicks, you're in your right mind to wonder how Sans can achieve such absurd damage output. It's thanks to his multiple gimmicks. Is this a cover made by somebody else? 1 second. Oh wait, no, this is the original Homestuck! Oh, okay, we're good. I need to start checking through, playlists. I have a problem with another one coming up, that there's just too much music that could just be flagged for copyright stuff. But this is fine, I think. KR, theorized to be named Karma, is a status effect in Undertale which is basically Undertale's version of poison that is applied to all of Sans' attacks. In Smash, it'll work slightly differently. Each of Sans' attacks will do a fixed 1% of damage along with an additional KR added onto the move. For example, let's say Sans punched Corrin, as he should. he would deal 1% along with additional damage that scales with the move. Let's say it was 15% for this example, which will slowly begin to build up in ticks. KR can be stacked on top of itself. For example, if Sans was able to hit Corrin with 5 hits, each dealing 10%, he would inflict Corrin with 50% KR damage. The amount of damage taken from each tick would scale with the amount of total KR currently applied to the enemy. Players will be able to tell that they have been inflicted by looking at their damage percentage, which will slowly become more and more purple as damage is applied. This allows Sans to rack up insane damage faster than most other characters. If you've fought Sans before, you know that he never stands still, pretty much always dodging attacks. In Smash, he will have a much better dodge than the cast, even being able to dodge twice in the air. Working similar to Mythra's Foresight, however, unlike Mythra, Sans' dodge is easier to pull, if Sans is successful. Then the word miss will be displayed above Sans in the Undertale font. This gives him more invincibility and allows him the chance to counterattack, and also for funsies, he'll have multiple dodging animations. All with the express purpose of pissing the other fighters off. Basic attacks, Jab! Probably one of Sans' most important attacks. It comes in 2 parts. The first being that he'll thrust his hand straight forward for a palm strike. In a similar style to Ganon, unlike Ganon's, Sans is infinitely more funny as he attached a whoopee cushion to his hand, referencing his introduction scene. I think this is the Halloween yeah, this is the Halloween one. Okay. The whoopee cushion emits a slight shockwave, knocking enemies away on contact. The melee attack is a sweet spot directly on Sans' hand, where it applies slightly more KR damage and does more knockback. However, this is only one of the attack's functions. If you hold the button down, Sans will fire a vertical bone straight forward. The bones, along with most other bones in his moveset, does not cause enemies to flinch. Instead, they rack up percentage and KR to any foes making contact with them. The best thing for comparison would be a weaker version of Piranha Plant's Poison Cloud. It doesn't move all that fast, making it a deadly stage control option. It is designed to be dodged, not blocked, as it does not disappear upon shielding. Sans can charge this attack by holding the attack button. Doing so will give the bone more range, apply more KR, and make the bones taller, if it's charged all the way. After reaching the apex of its travel, the bone will fly back the way it came, slightly faster than before, which will deal only a single hit but have reasonable knockback. This can allow for some hilarious, and very much bullshit setups for Sans. However, it acts as a sort of double-edged sword, as it's most likely to knock foes towards Sans, which risks him taking lethal damage. The cost of changing it is the obvious wait time, allowing the enemy's time to give Sans a good whacking. Dash attack. Sans summons a tricycle and rides it forward, giving him a boost in speed as well as dealing multiple hits of damage before launching foes away with a ring of the bell. It applies small KR damage with every hit and can be ridden off of cliffs, and any enemies hit off the button will be spiked. Why? Because I think it'd be funny. This attack is probably his weakest, as getting all up in an enemy's face isn't really Sans' game plan. Side tilt was a kick with his foot forward, again similar to Ganon's, except way more lazy. The force of this kick will cause his slipper to fall off, dealing damage as a projectile. I'm just picturing somebody getting gimped by Sans' slipper. The attack can be done twice with each foot. However, once he uses his slippers, using the attack again will have a sock fly off. The sock is much slower than the slipper, but is incredibly smelly, hitting a slow cloud around it. This acts very similar to the bone projectile, but stronger, dealing multiple hits of constant damage while applying KR damage. This attack references that one gag about Sans not picking up his socks. After using these attacks, the slippers and socks remain on the ground, allowing Sans to pick up his slippers, not his socks though. He'd never do such a thing. If used without slippers or socks. Hang on, is this another? When the sock is left on the ground, the stinky area will remain, getting weaker the longer it is on the stage. I think this sentence right here is supposed to be right here, so if it doesn't have slippers or socks, it won't deal any KR damage. I love... That's so great. If the slipper is taken off stage, it'll spawn back in Sans' feet after a brief cooldown. The socks will never be returned. Only death can do that. Oh, that's so good. Wait, why is... Oh, shoot, that's... I'm gonna ignore that music and go back to the start. That's... Pay no attention. Pay no attention to the TF2 music playing in the background. Sans kicks upward in front of himself, similar in style to SpongeBob's up tilt in Nick All-Stars Brawl. Since he's using his feet, the slipper and sock mechanics are applied. However, this time it launches upward and is affected by gravity. This attack will have Sans attack with the opposite foot to his side tilt. Down tilt shoots a tiny little baby bone across the ground. It does not apply any KR and only hits once with no flinching. Despite this, it's very fast and spammable, at the cost of having very low vertical reach, making it very easy to bonk Sans for being careless. This references the small bones used in Papyrus's fight. Side Smash summons 2 bones that make a cross whilst it spins, dealing multiple hits of damage and applying KR with every hit, knocking foes away from the final hit. Charging it will increase the amount of hits it deals before knocking the enemies away. Sans is free to act shortly after the charge is released, allowing him to do follow-ups. Up Smash raises his hands to the sky, summoning bones from the ground upwards, knocking enemies into the air and adding a good amount of KR. It's pretty fast starting for his smash attacks, but has a considerable amount of end lag. Referencing many moments where bones were summoned at the edge of the battle box in his fight. Whew, I need more water. Down Smash slams his ass down into a large whoopee cushion, emitting a large fart noise and a shockwave on both sides of himself. It is ironically one of his best kill moves, although it is very weak damage-wise, not applying any KR damage. Referencing his fondness for whoopee cushion pranks. Neutral Air summons a bone to spin around in place in a similar style to Pit's. Unlike Pit, Sans is very lazy and doesn't feel like holding it. This means that he can move around while the bone is spinning and can even use other attacks that aren't neutral air. The bone works identically to the other bone, however, it will deal knockback on the very last hit. Back air, Sans pulls out a trombone from God knows where. The attack has 2 hitboxes, one on the trombone itself and a small music note projectile. And one on Sans' back as he's forced backward due to the force of the trombone. Pretty much like Corrin's back air, except infinitely better because it's on a character like Sans and not Corrin. Oh, GingerHeed, you're after my heart with this concept, and I appreciate it immensely. The back hitboxes deal more knockback, whilst the trombone deals more KR damage. I should have put Corrin in the thumbnail for this. It's just like a dunce cap on. This is just the bullying Corrin peasant's perspective, and I am here for it. Up air, Sans juggles 3 hot dogs above his head, dealing multiple hits of damage before they all land on his head, causing confetti to pop from them, and a little victory sound will play, knocking foes away. Each hit will apply some KR to enemies. And then down air summons a Gaster Blaster beneath his feet as it chomps down, stopping Sans' fall slightly as it bites down, applying the most of KR of his normal attacks. Can spike foes if sweet spotted. For his grab, Sans extends his hand, grabbing their foes by their soul as his eyes turn blue, displaying a small 8-bit heart in their chest. I would love it so much if this, like, changed for every single character. Like, give Kirby a pink soul, give Ganondorf a black and, like, red corrupted veins going through it. That could be, you have so much fun with that. For his pummel, he clenches his hands into a fist, tightens his grip on the soul. And then for throws, Sans will simply... English! It's so hard! Sans will simply extend his hand in the chosen direction and throw the enemy, all throws being unexpectedly powerful. For his down throw, he will also slam the foe into the ground. All his throws reference him throwing the human soul around in his boss fight. Give Shulk nothing. Oh, that's so good! Yeah, but like things like that, right? His special attacks are blue and orange bones. Works fictionally similar to Sans' jab, however it doesn't have the whoopee cushion. The bones only deal one hit and actually do knockback. If the bone is blue, it will only hit moving enemies. If the bone is orange, it will only hit enemies that are standing still or blocking. The bones are on a set rotation, one blue, one orange. This attack references the many blue and orange attacks found in Undertale. This move is slower to start than his jab. And side special, of course, is the Gaster Blaster. It has to be. Tapping the button causes Sans to summon a small Gaster Blaster to fire a beam forward, dealing moderate KR damage and knockback. It can be angled in any forward direction. The downward angle variant is able to launch foes downward slightly if sweet spotted. If the button is held, the Sans will charge the blaster up, causing it to fire a large beam forward, dealing multiple hits of KR damage before launching foes with a final blast. Similar in style to Robin's fully charged Neutral B. Sans cannot move while it's charging. Up special is Shortcut, a simple teleport. It's short in comparison. However, unlike other teleports, this doesn't put Sans in freefall, and he can even teleport again if he wishes so. He can theoretically teleport until he reaches the ledge. However, with every teleport, his distance weakens. Going too overboard with the teleport will eventually cause Sans to fall asleep, causing him to fall downward if used too regularly. That's fun. That would be so annoying to play against, but holy crap, that would be so fun. And then down special is the legally required break. Sans takes a cue out of Jigglypuff's book and takes a well-deserved nap. He'll sleep for as long as the button is held. Being hit will cause Sans to have a guaranteed perfect dodge. If the button is released at any time, Sans will wake up, having some considerable end lag. Wait. So it's Jigglypuff's rest without the punish, and just like the same damage, but you can't be punished for it? That's so disrespectful. That's... You kinda just have to make people wait. That's so funny. Like, I'm literally sleeping through your attacks. And then Final Smash is the strongest attack. Slams the foes into the stage, takes them into a cinematic where they're taking them into the Undertale battle scene, and combines his first and last attacks from Undertale into one bone-crushing finale. I'm not gonna click this because I assume that everybody knows what that is. Got some fun alternate costumes here. Got Papyrus, Mettaton. It's been too long since I played this game. I can't remember the coloration. That's Alphys, which means that's probably Undyne. Oh, it even changes the color of their eyes to match with the color of their battles. That's so fun. As for his other stuff, for his entrance animation, the screen just flickers black as Sans appears. Fun. Got a shrug for a taunt, plays his trombone mockingly, and chugs a bottle of ketchup. Finally, young Link has a competitor for a chugging competition. For his victories, he can fall asleep. Attacks the screen with bones as Get Ducked On is applied on the screen in the Undertale dialogue. And Sans drive away on his tricycle, outspeeding Papyrus, who is in a red sports car. This classic route is you're going to have a bad time, fights all RPG protagonists, nice, and boxing ring title is the easiest enemy. Final thoughts, while I have my doubts on his chances of actually getting in the game as a character, I believe Sans is a character who can provide an awesome new playstyle and can provide an all-new type of vibe to the Smash roster. I hope this light little concept has shown you why. Thank you for reading. This was full of so much charm. Like, I've seen a lot of Sans movesets, so I was expecting, like, the basic, like, oh yeah, he poisons you, he only does 1 damage. But putting so much thought into the socks and slippers is so funny. It's such a Sans thing to lean into a gimmick. It's just one single gag so hard, and I think it kind of just makes the moveset. I just can't get enough of You can pick back up the Sliffers, but he will never pick up the Slox again. Only death will cause that to happen. That's so funny. Let's see, any feedback I can give? I love the idea of the blue and orange bones, but I almost wish this was more of a toggle to be thrown onto his other moves. It's like you could switch up, like, does this attack have the blue rules, does it have the orange rules, or is it just regular? Just to kind of mess with people's heads. That might be too strong, just being able to throw out constant orange attacks that can't be blocked, but... Or maybe that makes you cycle through them. I don't know, there's something that you could be doing there to just expand it a little bit more. I also just want Get Dunked On to appear if you spike with the down air. That's a must-have. But apart from that, like, this might be my favorite Sans moveset I've seen. But how would that work on Kirby? Good question. True. Maybe just give him the Gaster Blaster instead. Do what they did with Mewtwo in... Was it Mewtwo in Smash? Or was it Jigglypuff? Well, some game had Kirby get a different ability. Just for variety's sake, which I think is perfectly fine to do here. But yeah, well done! This was absolutely hilarious to go through. Now, I'm gonna take a quick intermission just to use the restroom and get some more water real quick. So I will be right back in about 5 minutes or so. Actually, let me put sources, text, one moment. Source instead. Intermission, back in a few. Whoop. Alright, I will be right back.
Alrighty. Refilled my rudder. I'm ready.
Doogie left us talk behind his back. Ha! You know, I'm half tempted to change the name of the stream. Because there's just been so much Corrin slander here. But it doesn't have a nice ring to it. If anybody can think of a really funny quip to go along with Peasants versus Corrin, I will change the name of the stream. Because that is indeed hilarious. Alright. Let us move forward. Our next update that I'm sure nobody saw coming has to do with Team Fortress 2 by Dylan Watts, which he calls the Sneaky Tank Update. Team Fortress 2, a game that has captured the hearts of many people. The characters are iconic, people still play it 15 years later, and has been the basis for every hero shooter in the last decade. For all the love people have for this game, Valve has been very neglectful of it. There hasn't been a major update since 2017. Many weapons need buffs and nerfs, bots are still a problem, many bugs need to be fixed. There isn't even a proper team working on the game. Valve has shown that they don't care much for TF2, but what little care they do have is for monetization like hats and taunts and other stuff like that. But today, I want to take a step back and imagine a world where Valve actually cares about TF2 like they used to. What would that update look like? So join me as I pitch to you an update for this game. The update would have centered around two main classes. The class that was promised an update but still hasn't gotten it, and a class that really needs an update to improve its availability. So join as we talk about my dream update called the Sneaky Tank Update. Peasants versus Corrin, a case from... You know what? Let's make it a Designing 4 pun. Because it's Pier's birthday today. 1 second. Peasants versus Corrin. Designing for Mediocrity. Yeah! There we go. Let's start with Heavy. I don't have as much universal changes for him, as Heavy's main problem is his lack of play styles, which can be fixed by giving him unique weapons. But I have a few ideas for universal changes. For starters, Heavy now has a secondary slot for his lunchbox items, meaning he can now have both a shotgun and a lunchbox item. Well, this is not big of a deal for normal Heavies, as Heavy tends to not find much use of his shotgun. It is a big deal to fat scouts, which is a Heavy that uses his shotgun as a primary, as it allows them to heal themselves as well. Another big change to Heavy is that all his melees now have a charge attack that can be activated with the reload button. This is something that needs a lot of testing to get right, as Heavy's melees are balanced by his poor mobility. My idea is that it's tied to a meter that recharges every 30 seconds. This will apply to all melee weapons and reskins of choice, so the frying pan... This can be a big deal for Boxer Heavy, as it finally gives them an opportunity to close distance on their enemy. Now the universal changes are done, let's move on to the new weapons, starting with... I forgot to share the document. Let's do that real quick. Oop. The Big Bang, or La Shaha, as Heavy likes to call her, is different from any of Heavy's miniguns, because it's not one, for once. I want this weapon to be the Dragon's Fury to Heavy's Pyro. It is a wow! It is a single-shot explosive weapon that fires a bomb. It travels about as fast as the Dragon's Fury fireballs and has a longer range than it. This bomb will have a small blast radius, but the damage it does is nothing to write home about. But direct hits from this weapon will hit hard, doing massive amounts of damage if it hits. You can also right-click this weapon to fire a bunch of small bullets that can do great damage, assuming they all hit. This is on cooldown, however, and costs 5 ammo to do, which doesn't sound bad until we get to one of its downsides. The last thing of note is that Heavy can do a mini rocket jump. It can't be as crazy as Soldiers, as Heavy is balanced with his slow movement, but giving Heavy any movement is a big win for him. The downsides of this weapon are it fires projectiles, meaning you need to consider traveling time. Faster classes like Scouts can dodge it easier, and Pyros can reflect it. It also has an ammo decrease, having only 25 in the clip. Lastly, this weapon does self-damage. This is a weapon that rewards aim. You can do greater damage than the minigun, but only if you can hit your shots. Already, this sounds like a ton of fun. Like, Heavy is probably my least favorite class to play as in Team Fortress 2. I just don't like... How do I put this? The wind-up to fire anything with a minigun just doesn't feel good, and I hate how slow he is. This fixes both of those problems. The Tanky Bear, oh god, he's Reinhardt, is a shield that covers Heavy's front and reduces damage from all sources except melee. However, because the barrier is so heavy, even for Heavy, he can't use his primary weapon anymore. Now, I'm sure that most of you are thinking that this sounds like the Fists of Steel, so what's the main difference? Well, the tank's barrier is passive, meaning you don't have to hold it out unlike the Fists of Steel. However, you lose access to your primary, and only have a shotgun and your melee to protect yourself. Also, it only covers the front, and the attack from the back will still act as normal, and spies will treat you like any other Heavy. This is meant to help playstyles that don't involve your primary, like Fat Scout, and Boxer Heavy. So it's the boots, but for Heavy. Now we got the point blank, so I'm taking this idea from the YouTuber Great Blue. But I really like this idea, and more people... Shout out to referencing who you got the ideas from. I always appreciate when people do that. But there's very few fully unique ideas in this world. It shows a strength of character to not try to take credit for somebody else's idea. This is a shotgun that is a laser weapon. This means it has similar properties to the other laser weapon in TF2, including infinite ammo, doing only 20% of damage to engineers' buildings and no random crits. But the main draw of this weapon is on hit, the accuracy of your minigun will increase. How much it increases depends on the damage you deal. It will cap, however. As you use your minigun, the accuracy slowly decreases until it's back to normal. Interesting! The downside of this weapon is that it got a -2 shots in the clip, meaning leaving you with only 4 shots instead of 6. This is a weapon meant to support your minigun of choice. Also got the Assault Cannon, the original minigun from Team Fortress Classic, has finally found its way into Heavy's hands. This minigun's damage is not affected by range, has a 30% faster spin up, and Heavy can jump while spun up. The downside is that it can't be spun up by holding right click, has a -10% damage penalty, and you have a -30% slower movement speed while deployed. There's not much to say, it's a recreation of the original minigun. Nice! Oh, yes. Oh, that's fun. Heavy is strongest at melee range. Whether it's a minigun, shotgun, or his fists powered by a stake, the closer the enemy, the better. This weapon lets you close the distance on your enemy, taking up the melee slot by right-clicking. Heavy will shoot the hook shot. If it hits an enemy, it will do a Mortal Kombat style get over here. Note that your enemy can still shoot you while being pulled, so don't try to grab a sentry. Now that your enemy is in melee range, you have 3 options. Melee them by left-clicking, switch to your shotgun, or switch to your minigun. But you will have to rev up your minigun and your prey might escape, so be mindful of that. However, the hookshot isn't a meter, needing to wait longer than the Sandman's ball to refill. It also does have a limited range as well. That's fun! I don't think there's any other item like that in TF2, if memory recalls. It's taking a lot of inspiration from like Overwatch's various tank classes and bringing them back into TF2, kind of making that inspiration go full circle to solidify TF2 as the superior game as it should be. So we went to the Spy. I have a lot more to say for the Spy because he really needs some buffs. First off, I want a lot of stuff on your Eternal Reward to be on the Spy in general. This includes silent kills, your target's body going invisible, and your target's death not showing up in the kill feed. All these things fit Spy so well, I'm surprised that it's only on one knife when it's not the main draw of it. Another change I want to make is to disguises. A problem with them is that Spy doesn't get good uses on slow classes like Heavy and Soldier. To fix this, when disguised as a slower class, you can hold the Shift key to move at normal speed. That's really good! The downside is that it's going to be very obvious that slow classes like Heavy is a Spy when he's walking as fast as them. This change can actually be an indirect buff to the Internal Reward, which it so needs. Also fixes the bug where you are disgusting and turn invisible, the smoke from disguising still appears. Now that out of the way, let's talk about his new weapons, the Big Shots. On hit, it returns ammo to you. Your ammo, however, is replaced with your cloak meter, and you only have 8 shots. The weapons reward aim and punishes missing shots, so the Widowmaker in revolver form. You've got the... You stab an enemy, it plants a bomb in their back. After a few seconds and one loud alarm, it will explode, not only insta-killing your target, but also dealing damage to their teammates. There will be an indicator that you have a bomb on you. The explosive radius is bigger than most in the game. It won't have any knockback though, it only does damage. After that, you'll have to wait until a meter is full to get the bomb back. Until then, it would work like a normal knife. The downside is that it drops your health down to 110 or 100 or so, depending on balance, making it more dangerous to be found out. This weapon lets Spy have a crowd control option, something which he's lacking. So if you hear or see that you or someone else have a bomb on them, get away from your teammates. Also, yes! This weapon takes up the melee slot. Using this weapon gives plus 25 health, bringing it to 175. The accuracy of your revolver shots will increase, and gives you 20% more revolver ammo. Your knife is replaced with a kukri that does the normal stock melee damage. The downside is that you can't get critical hits on backstabs now. This weapon is supposed to encourage a gun spy playstyle, which is more popular than I thought it was. Like, Konami would never allow it, but that's just a top tier reference. And we've got the Adrenaline Rush. Adrenaline Rush? I have no idea. Next, we have this thing. When backstabbing a teammate, it will inject them with a mysterious green juice. This juice will buff the teammate. The buffs the teammate gets are class dependent. For example, Soldier and Demoman take less self-damage, Heavy becomes faster, Engineer can build and repair his buildings faster, Spy gets faster clocking, Medic gets faster healing, in Ubercharged building, Sniper can charge the sniper rifle fast and gain 25 health, Scout gets less damage fall off, you get the idea. How long it should last and how long it takes for the juice to fill back up is very important as it... Sorry, English is hard. As if the buff lasts too long, it could be hell for the other team. But if the buff is too short, it's like, why even bother? This is definitely an interesting weapon to see how it gets implemented, as things could go good or bad if Valve is not smart enough to balance it enough. A downside to come up for this weapon is when you infect the juice in your teammate, your knife will now have reduced critical hits. Meaning you can't one-shot anyone anymore until it is full up again. This weapon could give a support element that he's been lacking in. That's interesting, giving niche support options for classes that don't normally have them. It's a fun way of introducing new playstyles to the game without ruining the game balance. Well, ruining the game balance by ruining a existing playstyle. You break the game in new ways instead of old ones. Got an explosive pack. The Spy will put down what looks like an ammo pack, but with a skull on it instead of the bullets. If an enemy tries to get the ammo box, it will explode, dealing 50 damage to the fooled player. That's hilarious. You can only have 5 out at a time, and will eventually disappear, and can be destroyed by shooting at it. It's literally just a question mark at Mario Kart block. And lastly, the Tranquilizer Gun. This was a cut weapon that was in Team Fortress Classic and was going to make a return in TF2, but got cut out. Replacing the revolver, it fires a projectile which on hit does 30 damage and it drugs them. The drug has two effects. It turns the enemy screen black and white, making it harder to tell if a player is an enemy or a friend, and it makes the sounds the enemy hears muffled. If you played mods like TF2 Classic or pre-Fortress 2, you have an idea of how this would work. The downside is that you have a decreased ammo clip, have a slow reload, and it only does 30 damage, making it not great for self-defense, which again kind of puts Spy in a more supporting role, debuffing enemies and buffing his allies. I like this. This is almost an entirely different playstyle. New character, I like it. We've also got Team Deathmatch, the FPS style. I'm surprised, I'm not surprised it's not in TF2 at this point. Respawn Wars. Both teams have a respawn machine. The goal is to destroy the enemy team's machine. If a machine is destroyed, the team can no longer respawn, and the team must kill them all to win the game. Fun. And just rebalancing weapons. Remove damage vulnerability from the buffalo steak sandwich. Rework the red tape recorder. I'm gonna kind of skip over these because without pictures, I can't remember off the top of my head what these do. I don't know what the baseline is, so it's hard to compare. Yeah, so if anybody wants to read these weapon ideas, like, just go to the documents. I can't really comment because I just can't remember off the top of my head what everything does. And for small changes, first remove the wait time to kick someone because, you know, bots, please. Like, small mini rant, but I can't believe Valve has done just nothing to fix that problem. You've got a game that people love, just, like, bare minimum, just take care of it. Come on. Go back to the start of that. Give free-to-play players the ability to use any of the communication stuff. They don't now? Oh, because bots. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Three gives us the ability to use other war paints on the Dragon's Fury because, you know, fun. And please remove random bullet spread. Mainly shotgun and scatterbun. Scatterbun? The scatterbun! Scattergun bullet spreads can really hurt those weapons at mid-range. Other forms of bullet spread like pistols, SMGs, and revolvers are ignoring, but a lot more manageable to get around. The only weapon it truly needs is miniguns, as that helps with limiting their range. Well, let's wrap up everything I wanted to talk about. There are more things I'd like to go into, like a new MVM tour, old maps from Team Fortress Classic making a return, and more maps in general, but I'll save them for another time. Hope you enjoyed this short presentation. I did enjoy this. This was a nice, like, nostalgia trip for me. I haven't played TF2 in years and years and years. But, like, just seeing these heavy changes, being like, oh yeah, I would play this character now. I love the idea of just a Roadhog hook on heavy. That's so good. It's kind of hard to give feedback on TF2 updates because, like, it's been so long that everything and anything feels amazing to just imagine. But I think what you have added here is a genuinely well thought out design to further flesh out the heavy and the spy. Gives both of them some actual playstyle variety, with actually interesting variations instead of very slight changes where there's clearly a superior option. And take some inspiration from Overwatch, which I think is genuinely healthy to notice that, like, hey, this hero shooter did something right, we should probably try that in ours. Nothing wrong with that. I love the Ocelot's price. That's so funny. I especially love the idea of trying to give the spy a more sneaky, underhanded support playstyle in addition to just his traditional assassination. It makes perfect sense for the character, while also giving him so much more depth. You gotta just mix and match both the playstyles. That's so good. Yeah, well done, Dylan. I enjoyed it immensely. Okay, we got 2 more today. Next up, got a very interesting one. One I never would have ever associated with this game in a million years. Let me read the reveal trailer first before going over to the actual overlay. We open on an exterior shot of a hospital, not a particularly large or small one, set in a generic city. Inside, we see Dr. Mario donning a stethoscope, taking a break from the fray to actually practice medicine. We get a montage of him treating other fighters for some ailments he didn't cause. He bandages his knee after he scrapes it playing with Lucas. He does a quick physical on Ike and diagnoses him with the flu, handing him some multicolored pills as he leave. He patches up Greninja after a Pokemon battle. Dr. Luigi gives him the side-eye for not being licensed as a veterinarian, but it protests. But Doc, they don't give me lollipops for being a good boy at the Pokemon Center. This is subtitled from the original Pokemon speak, of course. His last patient of the day is Inkling, brought along by a friend, but something seems off about her. For one, she has orange irises all of a sudden. She protests against the physical a great deal, even by Inkling standards, and demands to get back to Turf Wars right this instant. Even though her friend insists she's not acting right, Dr. Mario suspects something is up and sets up an X-ray. When it comes back, we don't see the actual results, but we see his reaction of shock and fear. We pan to Agent 3, who starts panicking as if she had a secret revealed, then convulsing as an orange worm crawls out of her ear and lunges at Dr. Mario. So, anybody play Plague Inc? The Neurax worm goes viral. Franchise, Plague Inc, genre, real-time strategy. Model pulled from Plague Inc evolved with tendril lengths on par with the giant microbes plush for balance. So first of all, that's horrifying. What is the Neurax worm? Humanity was foolish and dug too deep. Or rather, developed too much of the jungle, leading to this once dormant parasite to find a new host species. The Neurax worm has the peculiar ability to cross the blood-brain barrier and start affecting the host's cognitive abilities. Symptoms include such lovely things as headaches, immaturity, full-body paralysis, debilitating depression, aggression towards the unaffected and authority figures, and eventually subjugation and perpetual worship of the worm. But we'll skip over that last part since it's hard to convey in Smash. Why? There's no denying that mobile platforms are a major part of the gaming landscape, and mobile reps are often brought up for who might get into the next Smash Brothers. Meanwhile, the sole real-time strategy character in Smash is Olimar, and Pikmin isn't exactly a traditional RTS. More importantly, though, sometimes you can get good ideas from going against the grain when it comes to character choices. Okay, maybe not good, but what other character could be balloon weight, bait, and push characters? However, I will note that there's a very good reason why Plague Inc. wouldn't be a good game to add to a crossover, but God willing, it wouldn't be in poor taste by the time Smash 6 comes out. That's true. As Plague Inc. is a strategy game, to best convey that genre in Smash, Neurax is a particularly involved character. Mashers need not apply. Furthermore, you need to be flexible. It's like how air filters are debilitating unless you evolve Air 1. Most of its specials are on the slow side, but provide excellent stage control. Meanwhile, its smash attacks are good for finishing off opponents. To make up for this, its stats are about what you'd expect from a worm, and its throws are garbage. If the opponent can get in close and stay there, it's game over. In Plague Inc., the aim of the game is evolving symptoms for your disease to help spread it and wipe out humanity. In Smash, this is translated into debuffs. Get hit by the Neurax worm specials, smashes, or select other attacks, and you'll be weakened temporarily, about 5 seconds or so.
The actual debuff can vary. Maybe you'll be lighter and have weakened attacks or something else. It might even be character specific, like a decreased aura multiplier or slower MP recovery. If not specified, assume that the specific debuff is randomly decided. To keep things balanced, there can be a maximum 2 debuffs active per Neurax worm per character. As a cosmetic detail, the debuff is displayed on the opponent's HUD as a symbol in a Plague Ink style hexagon with a symbol, likely pulled from Smash Run, representing just what's being affected, color-coded by the number of the inflicting player. Weight is featherweight, just barely not balloon weight. Movement speed is glacial, think Incineroar's movement speed. It's small, it's floaty, and can cling to walls. Jab is a simple headbutt, think Pichu. Dash attack is a running headbutt. The side tilt twirls its tendrils in front of itself, like Ivysaur's rapid jab. Up tilt sweeps its tendrils above its head. Down tilt snakes its tendrils on the ground in front of itself. And the side smash, the Neurax sneezes. Has good range and inflicts a debuff like its other smashes. Up smashes stylized cysts appear on... Stylized cysts appear on Neurax's body as it tenses. The cysts burst upwards once the player releases the attack. Ugh. For the down smash, Neurax bends upward at the waist while charging, then pokes whoever's in front of it with its pincers, has poor range, but is its most powerful smash, capable of killing at double-digit percentages if fully charged up. Neutral air is a fairly traditional 360-degree spin with its tendrils. Up air spins its tendrils like a helicopter. You got such disturbing attacks here, and then it's like, oh yeah, it spins like a helicopter, how cute! Back air flicks its tail, like Mewtwo's back air. Forward air uses its tendrils like a cat o' nine tails, as a whip going clockwise in a 45-degree arc. And down air is the copter, but downwards. Grab wraps its tendrils around whoever's in reach. Simply constricts its pummels as a pummel. Oh my gosh, English words failing me. Each pummel reduces knockback from the opponent's attacks by 0.05 times. Interesting. So the throws suck, but you actually want to pummel people to keep yourself alive. I like that. Throws are pretty simple. It's a fairly simple creature, so you just gotta throw in whatever directions it's got. Now, the specials, these have been pretty basic normal, so I'm assuming the specials are worth things to get crazy. Eggs. Oh. The worm starts laying eggs on the stage. You can move forward or backwards while doing this, but even more slowly than usual. Think Kirby charging up his down B. Once an opponent touches eggs, they'll take a couple percentage points of non-flinching damage and get a random debuff, at the cost of that C4-sized patch disappearing. While there's a cooldown timer on egg-related debuffs, you can only have one at a time, there's no such thing for damage. However, this doesn't do knockback, or hatch baby worms. Eggs naturally disappear after 10 seconds. And the start and end lag gets worse as more space is covered. If you cover an entire battlefield platform or its equivalent, expect multiple seconds of end lag. This is one of its best stage pressure tools, able to block off considerable portions of the stage with a threat of a debuff. Ugh. Zoonotic Shift. A ring-shaped menu made of 6 hexagons, think Monado Arts, appears around Neurax, looking like the traits menu from Plague Incorporated. This lets it send out infected animals on the stage, acting like an upgraded version of Bowser Jr.'s Mecha Koopas. Only one animal can be on stage at a time, and they remain on stage for 5 seconds before disappearing. After an animal disappears, there's a 5-second cooldown before you can use the move again, and you can't send out the same one twice in a row. Debuffs are generally character-specific for this move if possible. First, you have a swarm of mosquitoes appears, a white hitbox that doesn't deal knockback, think Piranha Plant's Poison Cloud. A rodent runs forward and jumps if near an opponent, kind of like the Claptrap Assist Trophy. bird airborne and zeroes in on opponents. A dog is land-based but changes direction to get close to the opponent for infectious belly rot. Oh god. Wolves are slower than dogs but more powerful. And bats are airborne and hit multiple times before launching. It's fascinating how I think I'm, like, speaking softer just because of the music. I gotta start thinking about that when you're, like, choosing music choices for your videos. This is actually, like, I'm kind of just, like, slowly, softly, like, making more creepy voice for this. It's just kind of fun. Trojan plane. The Neurax worm turns into an orange plane and flies in one direction before turning back and entering freefall, with an orange trail behind it like the plane animation in Plague Inc. Think the Spacies up B with quick attacks. That's that's a very funny. Like again, you have these horrifying, just disgusting attacks, and like, oh look, he turns into a plane, yay! I like Gabe's comparison to Kirby villains. That's very true. Down special. The Neurax pulls out an Erlenmeyer flask of blue liquid from Hammer Space, winds up, and smashes it right in front of it. This is probably its single best kill move, on par with a KO punch. However, like these moves, it has massive amounts of end lag. If you miss, though, a light blue cloud appears on the stage that acts like the Bugs or Piranha Plant's cloud. This damages all opponents, including the player who created it. This way, even if you miss your early finisher, you have backup stage control or ledge trapping option whenever you want to work on another kill move, or wait for the cure to recharge. And then final smash, Infection. This takes two forms based on how many opponents there are. In either case, it starts with the Neurax worm climbing in the ear of whoever's in range. Oh god. If there's one opponent in a 1v1 or lopsided team match, it's a simple cinematic, where the infectee starts coughing. We see an E10 rated version of Neurax causing havoc in their bodies. Can you do that at an E10 rating? Like, genuine question here. I feel like there's just a certain amount of just ew when a worm enters something's ear. Eventually sneeze so hard they launch themselves, ending this. That is surprisingly tame for what the rest of this moveset has been. But if there's multiple opponents, the final smash begins the same way, but the opponent's eyes glow orange instead. It then goes back to gameplay, where the Neurax player actually takes control of their character for 10 seconds. You all seen the Dark Matter moveset, you know how much I love this. The infected character does 1.25 times damage and knockback, and has similarly increased speed for that time for the duration of the final smash. So it's not entirely useless during free-for-alls. This comes at a cost though, as the worm is achieving this with a manufactured fight-or-flight hyper response that's unsustainable long-term. Not that it cares, since it won't be in their body for long. In gameplay terms, this means they take self-damage similar to Pichu with every attack. The main potential comes during team battles. With one final smash, the unaffected player is outnumbered, which might lead to them panicking and making dumb decisions. Exactly the kind of psychological warfare that the Neurax worm's playstyle is all about. Once the 10 seconds are up, Neurax hops out of its target and goes on its merry way with both jumps and access to Trojan planes. However, if its puppet is KO'd, it loses a stock as well. Interesting. Got the costumes. We got orange, standard plague red, black with dark violet. That's fun. Simi came out really because fourth party characters aren't allowed. That's so. Oh, that's so stupid. I love it. Purple with white pincers, bright blue with indigo, green with brown. And alternating between red and green with pincers like white, like Santa's beard. That's hilarious. Stage entrance flies in with a Trojan plane, while a red biohazard bubble appears where it lands. When it pops, it plays the Inception-like horn sound effect from Plague Inc.
has a taunt where it laughs like a supervillain, one where it scratches its chin, like with its tendrils, and one where it pulls out a flask of cure, uncaps it, flinches when the fumes reach itself, and quickly puts it back. An animation where it climbs on the globe and lifts its head in conquest once it reaches the top. That's adorable. One where it dances to its victory theme, while puppeteering a visibly infected opponent. And where it laughs evilly on a pedestal while several generic infectees bow before it. After gameplay footage, we see Dr. Mario leaving the clinic, now with orange eyes, asking his nurse if he can go on a quick weekend trip to Greenland. Of course it's Greenland. It's always Greenland. Greenland or Madagascar. In the background, we can see a bandaged nest, Ike with an ice pack, and Greninja putting her tongue scarf to good use on her lollipop. What a strange choice. But I'm a fan. Like, I love the idea of a Trapper character centered around debuffs, more so than actual, like, just the traditional explosion, snake, C4, or everything else. This actually whittles down opponents to a point that they can be killed rather than just doing raw damage, which is a fun, interesting take on the concept. That there is a bit of an odd, just thematic disconnect with just how creepy, like going from cysts exploding on your back to, oh yeah, I'm playing now, it's just kind of odd. But I do kind of like how it's leaning into it and giving the character more of a, like, personality rather than just, oh, it's an infecting worm. I think my only real big complaint is that I saw the worm and immediately wanted to see, like, some sort of, like, face hugger reference in the grab or something, but, like, I can live without that. But yeah, this was fun, Capsid. An interesting take on a character I never would have expected otherwise, and a fun little blast from the past. I remember playing this for ages and ages. Maybe not the official Plague Inc., but, like, the... Oh, what was that? Is this the same as the Armor Games variant, or was there one before? I think it was like Pandemic or something. Like it was like this game. Obviously, just the obvious selling point of the grossness of infecting, like, staple video game characters with a virus. Like, I built the Dark Matter moveset around that kind of just appeal. Sometimes it's just crazy to see how much you can get away with your mascots and how much Nintendo absolutely would not allow for this in the game. Alright. We got one more for the day. You've seen him in the thumbnail. Let's get to just Jared Hebert. I don't know what you smoke, but I want some. Finally submitting something on time. Thank goodness. Let's talk about Thomas the Tank Engine. Gosh. Let's do the center a little bit better. Alright! A design doc outlined by Jared M. Hebert. There's nothing quite like it. The island of... I'm not going to be able to get through this with a straight face. The island of Sodor, in the northwest of England, set upon the Irish Sea, is surrounded by beautiful blue sea. It's home to the idyllic fields of green, sandy, golden beaches, from the heights of Kirkmagon to the riverbed of the Howendui Valley. It has also played a largely unexplored role in the British Isles' history, with surviving records dating back to the 900s AD. A native tongue distinct from its brethren of the Manx and the Celts, and is handily one of the most unique histories in the wider tapestries of both the arts of industry. And any man, woman, or child can tell you that Sodor's most illustrious institution... Sorry. None other than the Northwestern Railway, from Barrow-in-Furness to Kiel... I cannot. Kildane for short. From Suttery and Brendam to Knapford, Farquhar, Tinmouth Shades, or each of the smaller narrow gauge railways, it links across the island. Every station is a cathedral, and every single engine, coach, and wagon runs like clockwork. A series also hailed for its human stories and gorgeous scenery deserves at least one more chance to return to the limelight of the wider gaming sphere in a big way, at least in this man's humble opinion. Yes, the goal of this presentation is to lay the foundation for a new video game adaptation based on the Railway series by the esteemed Reverend Wilfred Audrey and family, as well as the book's far more well-known TV series adaptation by David Mitton and Britt Allcroft. Y'all have to understand how much of a nostalgia trip this is for. I think, like, in terms of, like, media, this is, like, the first thing I was ever exposed to as a child. I did do some tinkering with your playlist, by the way, Jared Hebert's. Like, there were a few songs I was afraid of being copyright stricken for, and a few that was just like, I don't know if I want to play this on a live stream. But oh gosh, this is actually hitting me in the feels a little bit. I haven't heard this song in years. Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends. You may have heard of it. I admit, this needs more fleshing out. Perhaps a revisit for a later stream if Duke allows it, but here's the rundown of what I would want this game to be. Would feature solo controls, the means to get you to locations or missions and see the sights of Sodor up close and personal. Think the classic GTA games, the Yakuza Like a Dragon series, and the recently released Hogwarts Legacy for an example of how I see the gameplay shaking out. I wouldn't say this would be a game about crime, but there are a handful of stories across the series that do involve crime, even for a few characters' origins, but that's another story. The movements and how dare I forget to link this one, of all ones. Oh, I love this so much. New and interactions between the means for newcomers to get their bearings, get to know why these characters. Just to be clear, Jared Hebert, I am laughing out of sheer joy, not because I think this is how silly Thomas the Tank Engine. Like, this is the oldest nostalgic thing you could pull from in my life. I wouldn't say this is a game about a crime. I already read this. Driver controls the meat to make the meal complete. Think a more straightforward version of Train Simulator and similar vehicle driving sim games. A lot of fan games made through Roblox have a good idea of how to make driving a railway engine easy to grasp for a pick-up-and-play game like Roblox. But also like an easy controller scheme in addition to mouse and keyboard, which I'm sure would be a standard if there was a PC-first, consoles-later game. Minigames, taking a note from the older kids' first license, and tone and vibes. As the books were written as much for adults as children, I'd want the look and feel of the game to hit notes all demographics could enjoy. Similar to how the Ni no Kuni games were co-developed with Studio Ghibli. But stay true to the series' established look and identity from all the series' noted illustrators over the years. C.R. Dalby, John T. Kenny, Peter Edwards and his wife Gunvor, Clive Spung, I have no idea how to pronounce that, Richard Courtney, Owen Bell, etc. Across the 42 books, the TV series' 20-plus season run, and informed nods to the major railways of the 20th century, and their successors in the UK's rich heritage railway circuit. And the rosters, last but not certainly least, the characters in this franchise were so key to its meteoric success going back to 1945 that it hurts how Hit Entertainment and Mattel have really squandered the franchise's oh my gosh, oh my gosh, I can't. Cast of characters, man or machine. Therefore, I would want to include as many vehicle characters as possible for different missions and free roam. From Audrey's 11 and the book's greatest hits to the worthy new faces from the TV series. Even throw a bone to some faces from Big World, Big Adventures and all engines, while substantial retooling would be needed for many of the... Oh my gosh, the music is getting me. I don't want to... This is too many feels.
while the rest of the lightning round. Really useful engine, and others, with most of the other vehicle characters being based on real machines. Thomas is an LBSC, Burlington E2, Gordon is a prototype 4, and Deviation. This is just three-year-old me being obsessed with trains. My god. Deviation from the Grizzly, A1, A3 Pacifics, Herald's a Sicker Sky helicopter, the list goes on. With certain capabilities and limitations based on said builds, you can tackle the timetables with robust built-in difficulty select, well over 60 engine classes represented just by the fat rail controller rail. I've been talking for way too long. 1 second, water break. Just by the fat controller's railway before you get to the other vehicles, the narrow gauge lines or guest engines from the other railway and overseas. Pulling trains, one factor to include for challenges in mastery as a railway driver, engineer, as in real life, is managing a lot of factors. The engine, which driver and main maintainer, you only get so much help. The length and breadth of the train, the coaches for passengers, trains, or the stability of trucks, wagons, vans, tankers, flatbeds, and prig van. Fuel reserves, coal and water for the steamers or fuel for the diesels, hauling capacity, how much they can pull and still operate close to the top speed or braking time for the station and platform, track conditions, be it oil on the rails, rain, snow, sleet, or derailments from other trains needing you to reroute, and getting the job done by any means necessary. 3 wrong moves and you're starting the train back from square one on the harder difficulties. By the book, aside from the main campaign having its own story, you also get the option to play through a suite of quicker-paced missions based not only on all the stories from the core Railway series books, 169 across volume 1 to 42, but also a wide selection of stories from the TV series, the magazines, the annuals, and more, offering a bite-sized experience to help acclimate the player to the controls. The veterans of games like Train Simulator and Roblox should also be able to adjust more easily. Free play mode, it's mostly just plussing the game's engines with mechanics for the long-timer and the diehards. Corrin's Gate works with lots of options for recreating classic libraries or giving your engines a look all your own. A lot of historical and iconic fonts for extra fan service. Easy architecture, terrain tools to make custom routes and maps from the Steam Workshop that much easier. Also cross-platform support with consoles if possible. 2 to 8 player versions of the smaller minigames for an extra punch. And theater mode kits. I'm sorry, just reading the comparison of going from like Thomas to Halo. I know you're just comparing the mechanics. That just made me laugh. But more tools to let fans create their own favorite stories and make their own, with multiplayer support and the tool to upload the final cuts to YouTube or your movie editor of choice. Thomas Friends fandom and Machinima go way back, you know? May as well. The island of Sodor, from its locales to its railway to its colorful cast of characters, has so much to offer for a modern-day video game. It's as much a period piece and modern fairy tale as a cross-section of the modern age. It's a land with rich history just in the last century or so. It's a workplace comedy with some of the best character dynamics and acerbic wit. And it's a world built as well as Lewis Narnia's or even Tolkien's... Sure. It's very short. Oh no, there's more. There's pictures. I love pictures. Wait, what the... I swear I checked this and this wasn't here just a second ago. No, alright, I'm not complaining. I thought the concept was over, but there's more pages that I didn't see. No worries. Ah, gosh, this is just nostalgia overload. My god. To sum up, the Railway series is a great example of world building, which I would rate the Audrey family pretty highly for making such an inviting, functional, breathing world along Narnia and Middle-earth. Audrey took great pride in the stories and lore he created with his son Christopher, brother George, and other friends like Teddy Boston, and the various crew members of the TV series have added so much that I feel guilty if I had to leave out the good additions. The two sets can coexist and strengthen each other in the right hands, and I think a video game would be a great way to help pin down what works and showcase that to as wide an audience as possible to help re-rail such an important legacy. At least this humble writer thinks so, you know? My friends, I see. Is this a copyright thing? Oh, that's cute.
Like, it's short and sweet, and it's very, very targeted to a very niche demographic, but this is literally everything a niche demographic would want from, like, a simulator kind of this. This could be such a cozy game. You just go around an island, riding trains, helping people with their problems. Stuff like flight simulators and are always so charming. Train simulators are as well. And, like, I do genuinely have a very, very soft spot in my heart for just all the Thomas and Tank Engine characters. I think really the only feedback I can give is that, like, it works for me because I was obsessed with trains when I'm younger. But reading the document is a bit inaccessible to people that don't know a lot of the terminology. I was talking about the various things here. Like, this only people who know trains would be able to understand any of this. But I think if this was able to be shown in, like, a visual format of just gameplay stuff, I think people would be convinced by its charm. Oh man, I would love, like, a couple of, like, not like playing like Animal Crossing, but kind of having a similar vibe of just helping characters with what they want. Gosh, that could be so cute. Definitely pitch this. I highly doubt Thomas the Tank Engine is a brand that get a lot of video game offers for. So I think you could definitely... It'd stand out. Just gotta find a good developer for it. But there's a few out there that could do something like this. Man, thanks for giving this to me. I haven't even thought about this brand in, like, maybe a decade at this point. Apart from the occasional oh yeah, look at Choo Choo Charles, that reminds me of that thing. It's nice to remember that, oh yeah, this was like the most wholesome thing ever growing up. I'd love to play a game like this. I'd love to play a game like this so much. Alright. Also, I'm glad that you finally got one in, Jared. I have felt so bad seeing your... Like, I will make my overlays for the stream, check back at the document, and there is always one of your ideas there, just moments after I finish preparing for the stream. So I'm glad you finally got one in. That is very true. It is kind of tragic that it got dunked into a, yeah, this is literally only for 2-year-olds. The brand had wider appeal than that for a long time, but, like, kind of got shunted into its own little corner. I mean, it works well for what it did. Lots of nice morals. But there's more you can do with it. Valve develops a Thomas Tank game instead of updating TF2. That sounds about right. With all that said, I think I'm gonna wrap things up here. My throat's actually starting to feel pretty hoarse. I don't think I can get through anymore. Like, again, tail end of a cold. But thank you to everybody that submitted. This was a very charming, delightful time with, like, the Ice Climber game, Cuphead, this, and then just throwing in a just casual, horrifying worm into the mix, and lots of Corrin bullying, which is my favorite thing in the world. Alright, as always, thanks to everyone for their submissions. We had a mountain of awesome ideas this time. I think this is the most that we've ever had submitted to a single episode, like, by a really wide margin. I think it was like something like 30 or 20 or 30. I counted once and I've forgotten since then. If your ideas didn't get picked, don't worry. I do this monthly, so there's always next time. We got through all the new submissions this time. There wasn't anybody else that we were missing it, so hopefully we'll be able to get to some second submissions this time. I hope that it always seems like people come out of the woodwork, or maybe like people are making like secondary accounts to try to get like, oh yeah, this is my first time too. Please don't do that. Like, I may have just jinxed myself by putting that into the world, but like that's aggressively lame, and don't do that. But again, like this was just so fun. Like if you haven't read over the submission entries that were in this one, please go back through those, because there were so many good ones. Well, alright. I will see you all next month for the March showcase. Maybe we'll have more second submissions then. Maybe new people will show up. Who knows? But either way, it's been fun. And I'll see you all next time. See ya!